Traversitor 1. Tang San, you are reborn after taking away your possessions. It's extremely despicable. Pop Tang Sanyi slapped him and cursed, you are reincarnating, awakening memories of your past life, and I am giving up, right? Walker 2. Tang San, you are extremely hypocritical. You even told Dugu Bo the worst treatment and stole his fairy grass. Pop Tang San slapped him again and said, are those immortal herbs planted by Dugu Bo, aren't they? Isn't it normal to kill and seize treasures in this fantasy world? As long as I'm strong, then my actions are all right. Traverse 3. Rather be Xiao Yan's lackey than the Tang brothers. Dong. Tang Sanyi's Haotian hammer shattered his head and said, I love Xiao Yan so much. Why are you traveling to Douluo Continent? I have a kind heart and will send you to Douqi Continent. In his past life, Tang Chuan traveled through Tang San without any cheats. He originally planned to follow the routine, practice Shen Gong honestly, and through his own research on martial souls, break through level 100. Unexpectedly, the arrival of one after another of the travelers was still a moral role model. Tang San said, you guys have a lot of free time, right? Keywords of the novel. Douluo. This Tang San is different without a pop-up window. Douluo. This Tang San is different. Download the full text. Douluo. This Tang San is different. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Before the Awakening of Martial Souls. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 Before the Awakening of Martial Souls Douluo Continent. This is a magical world where there is no fighting spirit, no magic, and only magical martial souls. Everyone possesses that magical power that can help them live more conveniently. Human beings living in this world have the opportunity to awaken their martial souls once they reach the age of 6. Martial souls have artifacts, plants, and animals. Among them, a small number of people can possess soul power after awakening their martial souls. This part of the martial soul, which naturally possesses soul power, can cultivate and endow humans with powerful power. And this group of people is called Soul Master. Soul Master is the most noble profession on the mainland, with unimaginable power. Ordinary people fear and revere Soul Masters, while also yearning to become Soul Masters. However, whether one can become a Soul Master depends on whether they possess innate soul power after awakening their martial soul. With innate soul power, one can cultivate and have the opportunity to reach the pinnacle, becoming a true Soul Master. If there is no innate soul power, then all efforts are just a waste of effort. Innate soul power, even if I don't practice Shen Gong, should I still have it? A young figure walked on the street of Xinghun village, heading towards the village head's house, listening to the villagers chatting with each other after returning from the fields on the roadside, with a thoughtful expression on their faces. I'm Tang San, Grandpa Jack. Are you at home? I'm here again. Dong dong dong. That person just now, his name is Tang San. And the village chief of Xinghun village is a well-known old man in the nearby villages, Old Jack. Squeak. The door, which had been scorched with red paint by the sun, slowly opened. Old Jack's hunched back and kind face caught Tang San's eye and he said, "Third, you're here. Grandpa has already prepared breakfast." Before Tang San could say anything more, Old Jack pulled Tang San into the house. On the clean and tidy table, there was a pot of rice porridge, a basket of mantou, a plate of pickles, and a bowl of eggs. For rural villagers, even the village head doesn't eat very well. However, Old Jack clearly prepared multiple seats. It is obvious that Tang San often comes here to grab a meal. "Sorry to bother you again, Grandpa Jack." Tang San came to take the rice porridge and mantou from Old Jack. He drank rice porridge and bit mantou. That bastard Tang Hao is really despicable, he doesn't even look like a father. Seeing Tang San wolf down, Old Jack couldn't help but blame Tang Hao again. I haven't seen him look like a person since I came to Holy Soul Village. When I first arrived, I knew how to take care of you and ask the villagers for milk, but when I fed you, I often choked you. When you grew up and learned how to cook, he completely gave up taking care of you and let you do everything. What about himself? He knows how to drink and sleep, a big man. I don't know why he's so cowardly. Even if he suffered before coming to Holy Soul Village, there's no need to be so decadent, right? He doesn't know how to take care of the child at all. The family is so poor, and he doesn't know how to earn more money to leave some family business for your son. Forging iron is a craft that can be eaten, but unfortunately he is too lazy, has a bad temper, and only knows how to drink. The people in the village dare not go to find him, so they still come to me and ask me to bring the damaged farming tools to find him. Really, mistress, you can't learn from your father in the future. He's just like this in his life. You're different, very smart. Master Su Yuntao likes you very much. Old Jack is old and talkative, which may be a common problem among the elderly. However, Tang San didn't think that old Jack had said anything wrong either. Tang Hao did have a big problem with that guy. The pride of Haotian sect. It didn't show up on him at all. Just that humble and pitiful self-esteem. I'm really not convinced. Take care of your injuries, work hard to cultivate, and strive to fight back. If there were any hidden injuries, it would be difficult to recover. Tang San sneered even more at this. It's strange to be able to recover from such a serious injury and alcoholism. However, Tang San didn't say any of these words. After all, he was just a child at the moment and shouldn't know so much. Therefore, he just helped the elderly Jack into the room, beat his back, and helped him with the work. In fact, the current Tang San is not the Tang San who crossed over from the world of martial arts, but a modern traveler. After 9 years of compulsory education, his former name was Tang Chuan. After crossing, the character, Chuan, changed from vertical to horizontal. Unfortunately, for Tang San's memory of another martial arts world, he only inherited the cultivation techniques from the Xiantian treasure record, including Xiantian Gong, Purple Extreme Magic Eyes, Xuanyu Hand, as well as Ghost Shadow Mistake and Controlling Crane and Capturing Dragon. The production of those hidden weapons, exercise techniques, identification of medicinal herbs, and most importantly, knowledge of immortal herbs have not been left at all. Perhaps due to his travels, Tang San's soul was completely shattered and his memories scattered, leaving only the Xiantian treasure record, a secret script that Tang San would never forget. If that's the case, Tang San still needs to thank his predecessor for his persistence. Otherwise, he doesn't even have cheats. How can he survive in this Douluo Continent? In fact, Douluo Continent is really difficult to get along with. The primary problem to be solved is one's own development. From modern society, he understands that if he wants to have enough to eat, Tang Hao's cheap old father must not be reliable, and can only rely on his relatively cute appearance to seek help from others. For example, the greatest village chief of Holy Soul Village, Old Jack. It has to be said that Old Jack's persona as a good person is not disguise, but truly so kind. It can be said that he is famous far and wide. Young Tang San relied on Old Jack to be as thin and small as the original. Although we can't achieve sub-health now, that's it. However, Tang San is not just eating for free. Equivalent exchange is the key to long-term success. Therefore, every time Tang San receives food from Old Jack, he will either beat his back or help him pick up firewood, always working, otherwise he feels guilty to his conscience. However, for a year, Tang San lived here in order to better help Old Jack with his work, until Tang Hao, with a dark face, took him back. At that time, Tang Hao suspected that the childless Old Jack was going to kidnap his son to become his grandson. From then on, Tang San would go home every day, but he made a pact with Tang Hao to go to Old Jack's place to help, and Tang Hao agreed. After this period of experience, Old Jack seems more like an elder of Tang San, rather than the Haotian Douluo who sleeps all day and drinks excessively. Cough. Old Jack kept talking non-stop, got angry, and coughed violently. Grandpa Jack, are you okay? Don't worry, I won't be the same as him in the future. Tang San had already finished his meal and hurriedly gave old Jack a few bites on his back. I'll go, it's too heavy. Old Jack became angry, but felt a slight pain in his back. Tang San felt a bit embarrassed and immediately returned to the room, poured a bowl of water for old Jack, and brought it in front of him. Old Jack, who was drinking water, slammed his mouth and said, "It's much better. Then I'll help pick up firewood." Tang San took the empty bowl, washed it in the nearby pool, put the bowl back into the house, and then walked out of the room, saying to old Jack, "Is Brother Tao coming this afternoon to awaken the martial soul of the suitable child in the village? You child, no big or small. Don't think that Master Su Yuntao was kind to you 2 years ago, so you can call others that way. You should call them masters." Despite that, old Jack smiled and picked up 2 eggs, stuffing them into Tang San's pocket. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. This Tang San is different. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. This Tang San is different soul master. In the eyes of everyone, it is an extremely esteemed existence and one of the most respected professions on the mainland. However, in Tang San's view, commoners are more of awe and longing than respecting soul masters. Everyone aspires to become a soul master. Since Tang San became sensible, he has been studying the knowledge of becoming a soul master. Where does knowledge come from? Nature is the famous, blind-eyed king, in various fan fiction novels. Su Yuntao. This person comes to Holy Soul Village every year. It's actually easy to get in touch with him. Tang San just found him and talked to him. At first, Su Yuntao didn't want to pay any attention, but when Tang San suggested that he could help him chase the girl, Su Yuntao stopped in his tracks. Then, the following year, Su Yuntao became very enthusiastic about Tang San and brought him the Encyclopedia of Martial Souls, which introduced various soul beasts, as well as the basic meditation ideas released by the Martial Soul Hall. Afterwards, Tang San also proposed to go to the Martial Soul Branch Hall of Nodding City to read books. Su Yuntao, seeing Tang San's intelligence, showed some sympathy and agreed. Therefore, Tang San and Su Yuntao can be said to have known each other for a long time now, so I want to ask old Jack if Su Yuntao really arrived in the afternoon. Grandpa Jack, then I'll leave. After receiving confirmation from old Jack, Tang San waved his hand and headed towards the hillside near the village, where there was a forest that was Tang San's firewood field. Arriving at the familiar forest and gazing at the blue-silver grass everywhere, Tang San, although accustomed to it, still sighed faintly and thought to himself, "This is also one of the reasons why I started learning early. Those fan novels are not trustworthy. In this real and not imaginary world, hunting is not so easy. Without experience, being able to catch prey can only be purely based on luck. In addition, hunting requires luck, so it's better to collect firewood for the sake of reality. Hunting, theory, and practice are completely different things. Anyway, Tang San doesn't have that much ability. Moreover, he can't even see a mouse in this place. What did he do? Although there are birds in the forest, they are very small in size, similar to sparrows, without rubber or other materials, and cannot make slingshots, nor can they be large. As for using baskets as traps, how can we use it as bait for birds when there is not enough rice to eat at home? It's too wasteful. However, he once asked old Jack why there were no large prey in the forest. Then I was informed that the geographical location of Holy Soul Village is good, located at the junction of the 2 empires. Merchants from the 2 countries often come and go, and Holy Soul Village has a large area of farmland suitable for cultivation, so it is more prosperous than other villages and there will be no famine. However, the so-called prosperity is only compared to other villages, and the people in the village can only have a meal of meat during festivals. 20 years ago, there may have been ordinary animals like rabbits in the forest near Holy Soul Village, but now, they have already been captured. In this way, the natural wheel cannot reach him as a traveler. There is a small stream near Holy Soul Village. However, Tang San has no fishing experience. If it weren't for hooking, it wouldn't be possible to catch fish with just one fishing rod, one fishing line, one fishing hook, or one earthworm. It's better to pick up firewood than to wait for that time. This is the only way for poor people to monetize immediately. 2 hours later, Tang San carried the firewood that was even higher than him, wiped the sweat off his face, and headed towards the Holy Soul Village. He first returned to the dilapidated home. Put the firewood in a small shed at the door, and Tang San evenly divided it into 2 parts, leaving one at home. After all, making iron and cooking fires also require burning firewood. The other one will be delivered to Old Jack's house later, which is for the cost of the eggs. Old Jack will also give him 2 eggs at that time. A bundle of firewood, exchange for 4 eggs. Tang Hao lifted the curtain and walked out of the bedroom, yawning. He then walked out of the house, preparing to wash up. When he saw Tang San distributing firewood, he asked, "Have you been to Old Jack's place?" Tang San nodded and then fell silent, obviously not wanting to have too much communication with him. Although compared to the original work, the one in front of him is more concerning, perhaps it is because he only started practicing Xiantian Gong this year. This is not that Tang San wants to see if Tang Hao will treat him better if he doesn't practice Xiantian Gong. How can we joke about our own talents? It's just that after inheriting the memories related to martial arts Tang San's secret script, he didn't gain any relevant cultivation experience, which means he doesn't know where the meridians of internal power circulation are. He didn't understand these things, how dare he practice recklessly? That's just joking about my own life. Who knows if I made a mistake in my cultivation and died suddenly? Can I travel back to the real world again? After dividing the firewood, Tang San took out an egg from his pocket and placed it next to Tang Hao, who was washing his face. Then he carried the firewood and headed towards Old Jack's house. At least, Tang Hao raised him as a baby for 1 or 2 years. Although it was only a year or 2, after that, I was in a state of half lying and half lying flat. After washing his face, Tang Hao picked up the egg without peeling its shell. He threw it into his mouth and chewed it 3 or 5 times before swallowing it directly. His eating method was extremely wild. Returning to Old Jack's house, Tang San placed the firewood in the backyard. "You child, Grandpa, there's no shortage of firewood." Old Jack pretended to be angry. "You're not short of a few eggs, really. So why bother?" "Grandpa Jack, this is what I should do. After all, I always eat you for free, and other people in the village will also gossip." Tang San smiled and took out another egg from his pocket, smashed and peeled it, eating it while saying, "Also, I always have to rely on myself. If your father had such thoughts about you, how could our family be so poor? With such a strong physique, when he has free time, he can find a job in Notting City and even earn enough money to get married by moving bricks." Old Jack sighed at Tang San's understanding, but also complained about Tang Hao's shortcomings. "I really don't know what's on his mind. Tang San is not good at expressing his opinion on this." Dong dong dong. At this moment, a knock came from the door. A man wearing a white strong suit, a white cloak, and a blue badge pinned to his left chest smiled at Tang San and Old Jack inside the house, saying, "Old Village Chief, I'm here. This person is Su Yuntao." Due to Tang San's reasons, in recent years, Su Yuntao's attitude towards Old Jack has become increasingly respectful, which is a form of respect for the old man rather than a reverence for his strength. Perhaps in Su Yuntao's view, being able to raise a child as smart as Tang San is the credit of Old Jack. "Brother Tao, it's been a while since we last met. Don't be safe." Tang San quickly swallowed the egg in his mouth and greeted Su Yuntao, Grandpa Jack said, "It seems like you're coming this afternoon. Did you come earlier?" According to the original schedule, I did come in the afternoon, but I had a date with Cece today, so I had a fever at 3 a.m. Su Yuntao explained. "Also, your child, after reading the books in our martial soul hall, you haven't been there for a while. Master Matano has been nagging about you lately." "Who said Sister Cece spoils me too much? I would feel embarrassed. Also, isn't it because I'm worried about Tauga's jealousy?" Tang San blushed. Although Tang San's martial soul had not awakened at this time, and the Blue-Silver Emperor's bloodline was even more distant and ordinary, he couldn't resist his lively temperament. Outgoing children are always likable. As for going to the martial soul hall to read books, this is a real world, and he must have a deep understanding of soul beasts. He cannot trust those fan novels, otherwise he will pit himself and have no place to cry. If it were really analyzed by those netizens, Tang San felt that he would become even more unreliable than Yu Xiaojiang. "Master Su, I'm going to trouble you this year too." Old Jack bowed slightly and talked to Su Yuntao about the matter. "For children of appropriate age, I have already asked their parents to wait with them in the center of the village in advance. Shall we go now?" "Okay, it's better to finish earlier, or you can date Cece earlier." Su Yuntao also wanted to finish quickly. Although he was happy to see Tang San, helping someone awaken their martial soul was indeed a rather tedious task. Not only did he have to rush, but he also consumed his soul power. He is just a great soul master, with not much soul power, he consumes it quickly. Afterwards, Tang San followed old Jack behind Su Yuntao and couldn't help but ask, "Master Su, can the awakening of martial soul really only occur at the age of 6? Why, the third party wants to awaken their martial soul in advance." Su Yuntao laughed heartily and said, "This is not possible. The martial soul hall stipulates awakening at the age of 6, and I cannot awaken people in advance. The reason is, I don't really like reading. And you little one, if you have something to do, call it Master Su. If you don't have anything to do, call it Brother Tao, right?" Tang San stared with big eyes and said cutely, "I don't think you've come all the way, Tauga. You've been dusty and a bit tired. I'm just joking and asking you to relax." Su Yuntao smiled and then said, "I've heard it poorly. As for your awakening of martial soul, let's talk about it at the age of 6, which is next year. Although I don't know why you can only awaken your martial soul at the age of 6, it has always been the case throughout history, and there is always a reason behind it." Mistress, you must want to become a soul master ahead of time. But Master Su Yuntao is right. This kind of thing is too urgent. Old Jack kindly touched Tang San's head. "You are so smart, you can definitely become a soul master in the future." Upon hearing this, Su Yuntao didn't say much, but sighed inwardly. Why is it difficult to become a soul master? Firstly, it is necessary for the martial soul to possess soul power. Just this first step alone has stopped over 90% of the people on the mainland. However, Su Yuntao sincerely hopes that Tang San can awaken a martial soul with innate soul power next year. 2 years ago, Tang San planned which type of soul beast to choose for his second soul ring, which indeed gave him a powerful soul skill. Such wisdom, if one becomes a soul master and can proceed smoothly, is bound to become a soul master who surpasses him. As long as Tang San awakens his martial soul next year and possesses soul power. As long as there is a bit of soul power, Su Yuntao dares to affirm that Tang San can cultivate. Even if he cannot reach a deep level, he can still become a theoretical master and surpass the joke of the soul master world. Arriving at the center of the village, where the martial soul hall is located. Every village has a martial soul hall. But in reality, it's just a stone house. In small villages like Holy Soul Village, there are no soul masters stationed in the martial soul hall. Instead, the village chief is responsible for taking care of them and regularly recruits people to clean them. Because Su Yuntao is coming, the stone house was cleaned a few days ago and looks very tidy. The awakening of the martial soul can only be entered by Su Yuntao and eligible children into the martial soul hall, while others, including Old Jack and Tang San, have to wait outside. 9 minutes later, Su Yuntao came out with 5 children and shook his head at Old Jack, saying, "Martial souls are all blue silver grass, sickles, hoes, and spatulas, and none of them have soul power." Hey, Old Jack let out a long sigh, comforting the children and their parents, asking them to take them home. It's better if you don't have soul power. The martial soul has awakened, and it's easier to do the corresponding work. Su Yuntao, on the other hand, chatted with Tang San for a few words before leaving Holy Soul Village and heading to other villages. After helping Old Jack home, Tang San bid farewell and returned to the blacksmith's shop, waking up Tang Hao who was taking a nap. "What's the noise?" Tang Hao rubbed the corners of his eyes, looking a bit impatient. "Did your martial soul wake up early?" "What is it?" "Let it out and see." Obviously, Tang Hao knew that Su Yuntao had come and was likely secretly watching him. After all, Tang San and Su Yuntao are getting a bit close, worried that their identities might be discovered. However, Tang Hao was obviously overthinking. With Su Yuntao's impatience, he was eager to go back and date Cece. Even if he wanted to invite Su Yuntao to his home as a guest, he wouldn't come. Tang San thought this way and said the innocent words that a 5-year-old child should have. "I think Grandpa Jack is right. You should keep up your spirits. If you continue to be so decadent, you will become moldy in the future. At least repair the house, right? Otherwise, no one in the village will be willing to marry me in the future." Tang Hao raised his eyebrows and sat up from the wooden bed, surprised, saying, "I didn't notice. You're quite precocious, actually thinking about getting married. You don't want our Tang family to have no children or grandchildren. Do you know the saying of being poor for 3 generations? If we are poor for 3 generations, we won't be able to marry a wife, and then our bloodline will be cut off." Tang San stared at Tang Hao with watery eyes, making his scalp tingle. "You look incompetent. I believe your father, who is also my grandfather, must not have much ability. He is poor, and when he comes to me, he happens to have 3 generations. What kind of nonsense did that fool in the martial soul hall teach you?" Tang Hao gritted his teeth in anger, wanting to catch up with Su Yuntao who had already left the village and hit him with a hammer. A good son, he talks nonsense and makes it difficult for him to refute. In the end, Tang Hao gave up the idea of beating Su Yuntao to death, got out of bed, walked to the fireplace, started making a fire, pulling the stove, and forging iron, saying, "Don't think about me raising you. I'll teach you a set of iron-making moves. You write them down and practice them yourself. You can save up the money you earn in the future. The house needs to be repaired, you can do it yourself in the future, I won't help. Also, don't practice the meditation method that was obtained from that wolf cub. Before the martial soul awakens, no matter how you practice it, you won't be able to sense any soul power. Martial soul is the foundation of cultivation." Undoubtedly titled Douluo, have you already noticed that he is practicing Shantian Gong? However, before the awakening of the martial soul, even the title Douluo cannot perceive the fluctuation of soul power. It seems like it should be like this. Otherwise, each sect can determine the child's talent before awakening their martial soul, without relying on props like crystal balls. Furthermore, what he cultivates is Shantian Gong, which is said to be a pure Taoist technique. The internal power he cultivates is moderate and peaceful, and he will not produce so-called soul power fluctuations like a soul master. Internal power and soul power. Perhaps before the awakening of the martial soul, the internal power is really just internal power, without the transformation of the martial soul, others cannot perceive it. Tang San pondered while observing Tang Hao practicing the chaos cloak hammer technique. With the talent brought by time travel, he remembered it vividly and had already memorized it in his heart. But he can't remember it all over again, that's too exaggerated. Practice again, I didn't remember. Tang San drummed his face, confidently speaking. Tang Hao. He is my son, he is my son, Tang Hao silently recited several times in his heart, continuing to practice the random cloak hammer technique until Tang San said he had recorded it, and he had practiced it more than 20 times. However, when Tang Hao asked Tang San to give it a try, Tang San made him realize one thing. Tang San couldn't swing the forging hammer. It can be carried, but it's only something that can be carried. The reason, of course, is that Tang San only started practicing Xiantian Gong this year, and his internal strength was not very strong. He picked up the forging hammer and swung it 3 or 2 times, but he no longer had any strength. Tang Hao. There have been quite a few instances of silence today. I think it's a matter of tools. You should specifically create a forging hammer for me that suits my height, Tang San said confidently again. Tang Hao glanced at him and went back to his room to sleep. Tang San also felt helpless. There isn't even a rabbit in the nearby mountains and forests, and it's difficult to catch fish in the river. Why is it so difficult to have a good body in such a family? Tang San had the means to get rich, but he couldn't use them. The reason is also simple. Firstly, due to identity issues, he and Tang Hao had to start their escape journey to attract the attention of others. Secondly, regarding age, although he was already able to plan a soul ring for Su Yuntao, the people in the village didn't know that old Jack wouldn't follow him around. Believing in his intelligence is one thing, but following his ideas is another. A hairless mouth makes things difficult to handle. This also works in this Douluo Continent. It's better to cultivate your internal strength first and strive to make your physique stronger, otherwise when the martial soul awakens, your soul power may be very low. As the son of Tang Hao and the Blue Silver Emperor, Tang San is certain that he has innate soul power, but in this malnourished situation, he will definitely not have innate full soul power. At what age did Tang San, the martial arts hero in the original work, start practicing? Tang San didn't know, but he knew that it wasn't until around the age of 6 that he felt his internal strength could no longer improve and encountered a bottleneck. Now, at the age of 3 or 5, Tang finally understood the Xiantian Gong. At this time, practicing it for a year would not be innate full soul power. However, it doesn't matter if the cultivation speed is slower in the early stage. With the addition of Xiantian skill in the later stage, the speed of soul power improvement will definitely not be slow. And the next plan, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. Moments of Martial Soul Awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Moments of Martial Soul Awakening for the future. Tang San naturally has his own plan. The first step is to awaken the martial soul, which is of utmost importance. After all, the martial soul is the extraordinary foundation of this world. After the awakening of the martial soul, he went to study at Notting College. It's not that Tang San doesn't want to look for other colleges, but rather that he doesn't have money at home and can only work as a part-time student. Attention! You Xiaojiang, that's a pit to avoid. From the age of 3, Tang San became acquainted with Su Yuntao and occasionally accompanied him to the Martial Soul Branch Hall in Notting City. He read many public books there and also learned about the theory just published by Yu Xiaojiang, which can be considered as a genuine understanding of why he is called a joke. One thing to admit is that Yu Xiaojiang's theory has some correct parts, but only some, and that is common knowledge in the Soul Master realm. What is common sense? It is the knowledge summarized by the vast majority of Soul Masters throughout history and recognized by everyone in the Soul Master world. As soon as Yu Xiaojiang published it, it was as if he had summarized it all by himself. Secondly, where Yu Xiaojiang's theory is not recognized, there is basically no proof, and even some are only his subjective speculations. At this level, daring to publish it is truly laughable. Of course, because his identity as the son of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family is there, no one dares to mock him in front of him. Apart from making himself unhappy, there is no gain. The benefits of learning from Xiao have also been considered by Tang San. Putting aside the theory of hidden energy, the greatest benefit that Xiao can bring to Tang San is his rich knowledge of soul-beast encyclopedias, some ancient books that outsiders cannot even see. Besides, there is no need to worry too much about life in the early stages. However, Tang San felt that he had the ability to rely on himself. As for the knowledge of soul-beast encyclopedia, Tang San felt that the books he obtained from the Martial Soul Branch Hall of Nodding City were enough for him to figure out what kind of soul ring he should choose. After avoiding the pitfall of Xiao, it will be 6 years of study. During this period, Tang San plans to establish his own team with the hope of the future. He is not a righteous gentleman. He wants fame, power, wealth, beauty, knowledge, and truth. It is impossible for one person to achieve these things, and it is better to collaborate with multiple people than to research alone. Different brains can collide to create different sparks of inspiration. And where should I go after graduating from Nodding College anyway? Shrek definitely can't go. The environment has a significant impact on people. That student has talent and can go for prostitution, gambling, and causing trouble at will. Tang San himself really can't appreciate the teaching method. To be fair, Tang San, the martial arts hero from the original work, was born into the Tang clan. As an assassin, his combat style is not just about showing off. Assassination targets are the key, and being able to launch a surprise attack is the essence of the hidden weapon sect. But Tang San, the martial arts hero in the original work, was forcibly misled by the belief that he was a mediocre person who dared not cause trouble, and became unrestrained and flamboyant. Perhaps it was because he traveled through time and became Tang San, with a psychological tendency to explain the martial arts Tang San. However, from the perspective of the original work, Tang San dares to say that martial arts Tang San, apart from being hypocritical and double-standard, can truly be considered a moral model, compared to the vast majority of Douluo Continent protagonists. Do Er began to go crazy, becoming not like a person, but a ruthless god. Let's get to the point. After graduating from Nodding College, you can choose any advanced college to participate in the elite competition of advanced soul master colleges across the continent and become famous overnight. And his personal identity issue. Tang Hao's son is indeed a trouble, but as long as he handles the rabbit's problem well, Tang Hao should not be foolish enough to jump out at the last moment. The former Haotian sect was affiliated with 4 tribes, and if one wanted to leverage their power, they had to abandon their identity as Haotian sect. This is exactly what he wants. Anyway, he doesn't plan on playing the game of returning to his ancestors. Modern people don't have much concept of ancestors, and they don't want to have an extra ancestor in their head. 7 Treasure Glass Sect. Ning Fengji is an old fox. In terms of conspiracy and trickery, as a modern person, he really can't play with the master of a sect. So, there's no need to play conspiracy. Once the strength improves, we can make friends. Ning Fengji already holds great goodwill towards the genius soul master. However, it seems that the 7 Treasures Glass sect does not have its own academy. At least it did not appear in the original work. The Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family. Thunder Academy. This is quite possible. Yu Tianheng is a decent person and has a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship with Dugu Yan, which can help build a relationship. Etc. It seems that Yu Tianheng is from the Tiando Royal Battalion. And Blue Bull Academy cross it out. Although this college vigorously recruits civilians, it is likely to meet Xiao. The specific college has not been determined yet, with 6 years to consider. After the competition, one can travel to the mainland. After all, according to the map obtained from the Martial Soul Hall, the area of Douluo Continent is equivalent to that of Eurasia, which is very large, and a large part of the area has not been fully explored by human soul masters. At that time, becoming a pioneer may not be a good choice. However, there is one thing to avoid: the capital of slaughter. Although it is possible to obtain the realm of killing gods, that place is a paradise of sin, where various corrupt things happen. Tang San speculates that the protagonist of the original work, who is so abnormal in Do Air and Do San, may have been influenced by this place. Although Tang San washed away all the lead in the Moon Pavilion, he probably just put on a more hypocritical facade. Seeing the darkest scene of corruption in the world, can the noble etiquette wash away those memories? Absolutely impossible. Washing away all the lead, perhaps only temporarily calmed his soul. As the realm of killing gods opened up, the scene of corpses and blood sea emerged in his heart, and the calmness naturally dissipated into invisibility. As for Haotian Island, you can go there once. The divine position is still very fragrant. At least it can live forever. The above is Tang San's current general life plan. If any other changes occur during this period, such as awakening his martial soul and not being born with full soul power, Tang Hao truly lies flat and wants him to cook for him in this village for the rest of his life. So, while practicing, I am studying martial souls and becoming a respected master of martial soul theory. As for the outbreak of the future war, the martial soul hall needs to unify the mainland, and the Tiando Empire's defection to the martial soul hall has nothing directly to do with him. If the war spreads to the Holy Soul Village, he will take Old Jack and flee to the nearby mountains and forests. However, it shouldn't be so tragic. After all, the ending of the original work, Holy Soul Village, is safe and sound. War, a war that affects the entire continent, to exaggerate, is actually only a few military strongholds fighting. Other small towns and villages, unless they are unlucky enough to be passed by the army, can feel the atmosphere of war, which is the rise in prices around them. Tang San, who had regained his senses, set aside the forging hammer and practiced Xiantian Gong. As Tang Hao lay in bed, he noticed Tang San's movements and thought to himself, I've told you all, the martial soul hasn't awakened, and meditation is useless. Forget it, let him be. After a while, Tang Hao got up from the bed and walked out with a dark face. Because it was noon, he was hungry. Where's lunch? I have eaten at Grandpa Jack's house, and that bundle of firewood was exchanged for 4 eggs, one of which was given to you. Tang San stopped practicing and said honestly. What do I eat, your dad? If you want me to make money by forging iron myself, should you set an example and cook for yourself first? Tang San stared at Tang Hao and retorted with his previous attitude towards him. You're really my big brother. Tang Hao walked away from the blacksmith shop with a black line on his head and only returned an hour later. He grabbed a bag of rice in his hand and said, Go cook for me. Okay. Tang San happily took the rice bag, untied the rope on it, and Yao took out a bowl of rice. He began to cook rice and steamed it. He didn't throw away the rice washing water, but mixed it with wild vegetables and cooked it together. As long as he added some salt, the taste was actually good. In no time, the fragrant rice was ready. Tang San filled himself a big bowl and then returned to the bedroom, calling out Tang Hao, who didn't want to waste any of his lazy time, and saying, It's delicious. Tang Hao frowned as he saw Tang San holding a bowl of rice in his hand and said, Did you give it to me? No, I ate it myself, Tang San said, sticking out his tongue and licking the edge of the rice, leaving a drool. This scene made Tang Hao's mouth twitch. Forget it, I won't argue with you. Just when picking up the vegetables, Tang Hao seemed to have regained face and put them all into a bowl, leaving only a few vegetable leaves and some soup for Tang San. Do you believe that I won't provide you with retirement in the future? Tang San's face darkened and he threatened. Humph. I'll use you for retirement. Tang Hao ate and wiped the dishes from his bowl in just a few seconds, then threw the bowl away and went back to his room to sleep. You said, I don't need to take care of it. Tang San felt that he had had enough of it, but he still picked up the bowl and basin, took them to the pool outside the door, and began to wash up. So, a year passed by in a blink of an eye. Su Yuntao arrived as scheduled. Third, it's finally your turn to awaken your martial soul this year. Are you excited? Su Yuntao saw Tang San and old Jack waiting together at the village entrance from a long distance. When he arrived at the village entrance, he greeted them with a kind greeting. Excited beyond control, Tang San jumped twice. So, let's go and help you awaken your martial soul. Su Yuntao followed old Jack to the center of the village with ease, and the other 6-year-old children had already walked over with their parents. Su Yuntao led Tang San and the 6 children into the martial soul hall, put down his bags, took out 6 black stones, arranged them in a circle, and then possessed the martial soul, transforming into a werewolf. Unlike the form shown in anime, the beast martial soul appears in the form of an attachment, which gives the soul master a form similar to that of an orc and looks quite wild. At this moment, Su Yuntao was like a wolf demon that had become a demon. Xiao San, you come first. After all, we are old acquaintances, so we have to let you cut in. Su Yuntao waved to Tang San, who was at the bottom of the line. This is also one of the few powers that his great soul master can command. Okay. Tang San remained unaffected and stood at the center of the 6 small round stones. Su Yuntao infused his soul power into the 6 awakening stones, and a more intense golden light emerged from them, converging towards Tang San's body, as if attracted by his body. Suddenly, Tang San's body trembled, as if he was in a warm golden ocean, with objects in his hands about to gush out. The left hand must be the Haotian hammer, so Tang San tightly clenched his left fist. Don't be nervous, it's okay. Su Yuntao noticed that Tang San's hands were tightly gripping, as if he was holding feces, a bit speechless. Extend your right hand. Tang San extended his right hand, and a blue-silver grass suspended in his palm. Blue-silver grass, abandoned martial soul. Su Yuntao was disappointed, but soon relieved. After all, it was not Tang San's own decision to awaken the martial soul. Test your soul power. As long as you have soul power, I believe with your intelligence, even if you depose the martial soul, you can become a powerful soul master. Even if you don't succeed, you are still a master of martial soul theory. Under Su Yuntao's explanation, Tang San put away his martial soul and raised his hand to place it on the crystal ball. In an instant, the crystal ball lit up with almost half a light. And Tang San felt that the internal power he had cultivated this year had also converged into his soul power, entering the crystal ball. Innate 6th level soul power. Su Yuntao was shocked and then pleasantly surprised. Xiao San, although your martial soul is blue-silver grass, you have level 6 soul power and can cultivate it. Although he is not very interested in the theory of martial souls, Tang San has conducted some research on martial soul cultivation. His second soul ring was based on Tang San's advice and obtained a soul technique that is very suitable for him. He believed that as long as he could cultivate, with Tang San's intelligence and talent, blue-silver grass could still exert its advantages. Besides, this is still innate level 6 soul power. In recent years, influenced by Tang San, Su Yuntao is not only interested in pleasing the slightest bit when he has free time. After all, Tang San once told him that girls like excellent boys, especially knowledgeable ones. For his promotion and salary increase, he fiercely supplemented some knowledge of soul master cultivation, realizing that the amount of innate soul power represents his cultivation potential and speed. Innate level 6 soul power, Tang San can at least cultivate to the Soul Emperor as long as there are no accidents. That's the Soul Emperor. He is much stronger than this great Soul Master. What if blue-silver grass cannot attack? After Tang San reached the level of Soul Emperor, even without any attack soul skills, his magnificent soul power could still crush a great soul master like him. And maybe blue-silver grass can go through the control system. If Tang San knew Su Yuntao's thoughts, he would definitely be amazed, because Yu Xiaojiang also thought the same way. Is it innate level 6 soul power? Tang San released blue-silver grass again, pondering. It seems that the level of innate soul power is somewhat related to his physical condition. He could sense that the innate soul power of blue-silver grass was only 2 levels, and the remaining 4 levels were replenished by the internal energy accumulated from his cultivation of Xiantian Gong in the past year. The Tang San in the original work has a relatively cold or introverted personality, and he definitely doesn't eat as well as him. Without Xiantian Gong, his innate soul power would probably only be lower. First level. Or half level. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Breaking the father-son relationship. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Breaking the father-son relationship. After Tang San, Su Yuntao began to awaken his martial soul for the other children, but unfortunately, none of them had soul power, including the little girl whose martial soul was also blue-silver grass. Originally, Su Yuntao would have a good start in the future. But it turns out that Tang San is just an exception. There are only a few individuals among the common people who can awaken martial souls with soul power. After packing up the 6 black stones and crystal balls, Su Yuntao took out a pen and paper from his bag and opened a certificate for Tang San's martial soul hall. He asked, "Tang San, do you want to join the martial soul hall?" "I'm not considering joining the martial soul hall for now," Tang San said bluntly. "Join the martial soul hall. If he dares to join, then the cheap old father dares to break his leg. Joining the martial soul hall before having the strength to resist is an unwise choice. Objectively speaking, joining the martial soul hall is the best choice. But there is a premise. Being able to defeat Tang Hao. As for the stance of the martial soul hall and Haotian sect, did he eat Haotian sect's rice? Must we stand in line, Haotianzong? And the revenge of killing one's mother. How to put it, as a modern person, one should have some conscience, but for a mother who has never met before, regardless of the reason, from an emotional perspective, there is no such thing as family affection for him. He is different from the martial arts hero Tang San, he did not lack love in his previous life. Secondly, the direct enemy, Qianshuan disease, has already played over. All the enemies have died, avenge Mao. The future is clearly beautiful, why have so much resentment? Another point is the conspiracy theory in fan fiction that I have read in my past life. The sacrifice of the blue-silver emperor is indeed a bit coincidental. Regardless of whether it is true or false, although Tang Hao may not have that brain after seeing it over the years, what if? Therefore, Tang San's attitude consists of 3 words. He has a bad mind and doesn't want to take care of it. Why? Su Yuntao didn't understand. Previously, Tang San tried every means to follow him to the martial soul hall in Notting City, but now he has sent out an invitation and surprisingly doesn't join. Strange. You know, Brother Tao, I am studying martial soul cultivation, but the materials in my martial soul hall have not changed much for hundreds of years, and I need to innovate on my own. Tang San can only find another reason. If I go to the martial soul hall, I am worried that I will be assimilated by the teaching mode of the martial soul academy, and my innate level 6 soul power is too low to be valued. Those teachers will not pay attention to my remarks, only think I am imaginative. It seems that this is indeed the truth. Students in the martial soul academy are generally above the innate level 5, and you are at the innate level 6. Although you are 1 level higher, you are only slightly stronger than ordinary students. Su Yuntao thought for a moment and felt that Tang San's words were quite reasonable, so he didn't insist anymore. Anyway, you will definitely go to Notting Academy to study in the future. When you graduate, it's not too late to think about it again. Tang San asked, "Can you help me hunt soul beasts when I reach level 10? No problem, who asked you to call me Tao Gu? With Tao Gu present, there's no accident." Su Yuntao patted his chest and said fluently, "By the way, Master Mathiano also likes you, a lively child. If he finds out later, he may also come along. After all, the responsibilities of the branch hall master don't seem to be very busy." That's so embarrassing. Tang San smiled shyly, but deep down, he thought to himself, how can we repay Ma Ziyunuo and Su Yuntao? This kindness cannot be taken away for nothing. The gate of the Martial Soul Hall in the center of the Holy Soul Village opened, and the eager old Jack quickly walked up to him. He asked nervously, Master Su, have any children with soul power appeared? How is the situation with the mistress? Yes, just one, and it's Tang San. Su Yuntao smiled and pushed Tang San out. The martial soul is blue-silver grass, with an innate soul power of 6 levels, which is much higher than the soul power of ordinary people. If there are no accidents in the future, he can definitely become the Soul Emperor. Work hard, maybe he can become the Soul Saint, and then the Holy Soul Village will live up to its name. Really? Old Jack was so happy that he danced and laughed with a flurry of excitement, and the wrinkles on his face seemed to be lively and dancing. Although blue-silver grass is an abandoned martial soul, it is widely recognized in the mainland. But Master Su Yuntao has said that the third party's blue-silver grass has soul power, which means it can be cultivated. Even if the third party works harder, they may become the second soul saint in the Holy Soul Village in the future. After chatting with old Jack for a while, Su Yuntao said to Tang San, 3 months later, Notting College will recruit students and go to Notting City. You can come to the Martial Soul Hall and I will accompany you to the college. The gatekeeper there has a bad attitude towards the common people. Brother Tao, thank you. Tang San was extremely grateful and wrote down Su Yuntao's help in his notebook. After sending Su Yuntao out of the Holy Soul Village, old Jack hurriedly took Tang San to his house, facing the door and shouting loudly, Tang Hao, are you sleeping to death? If you're not sleeping to death, make a sound. Otherwise, I'll go in and pull you off the bed, which is similar to a coffin. Who is it? Tang Hao yawned and lifted the door curtain. Seeing old Jack gasping for breath, he looked impatient and said, it's old Jack. Is it necessary for his voice to be so loud? I'm not deaf. Speaking, Tang Hao even pulled out his ears and didn't take old Jack seriously at all. Old Jack, who was out of breath, spoke about Tang Hao's shortcomings and said, do you still have the face to talk about me? Today is the day when the third party awakens their martial soul, and other parents are waiting outside. Even if the awakened martial soul lacks soul power, it will comfort them. You're lucky, you don't even go, and it doesn't care about the third party at all. No wonder the people in the village gossip about the mistress and think he's not your biological child, so they also warn their children not to come into contact with the mistress. But the child is innocent. Tang Hao's head was covered in black lines, and he always felt that old Jack was not serious either. However, he was still a bit angry when old Jack said that Tang San was not his biological son. But, there is no need to argue with a rural villager in the grand and majestic Douluo. So Tang Hao looked at Tang San and said, what is a martial soul? Tang San did not answer immediately, but remained silent for a while. He stared at him for a while, as if with a hopeful expression, and asked, did you really sneak over? Are you not afraid that what I awaken to is a hammer? Of course, the latter half of the sentence cannot be spoken. Tang Hao also fell silent. Didn't you go there? Jokes. If his son wakes up with a Haotian hammer, he will kill Su Yuntao on the spot and then run away with his son. However, in the big day of awakening the martial soul, I haven't passed it, is it really a bit excessive? Forget it, anyway, this matter has already passed. The third child is precocious and should be fine. At most, we won't get close to him in the future. It's also good that you don't have to step into the world of soul masters. Be an ordinary person and live a peaceful life. Old Jack, who was full of heartache in his eyes, thought that Tang San had hoped for Tang Hao, but Tang Hao's silence made him unable to resist and scolded, Tang Hao, he's just a coward. Why don't you speak? Speak up. At least say something, even if it's a lie, it will make the mistress happy. Tang San is just a child after all. Tang Hao clenched his fist, but didn't say anything and turned a blind eye to old Jack's gaze. Let me tell you, Tang San's martial soul is blue silver grass, but his soul power is level 6. Old Jack gestured the number 6 with his finger. Master Su said, at least a third person can become a soul emperor. Work hard and you can also become a soul saint. Congenital level 6. Upon hearing this innate soul power level, Tang Hao was taken aback. He secretly saw Tang San awakening his blue-silver grass martial soul and left without paying attention to his soul power level. Level 6. Is it too low? He is the proud son of Haotian sect, with an innate soul power of level 9, and Ian has been transformed into a soul beast for 100,000 years. How could their son only have an innate soul power of level 6? At worst, it has to be level 7. However, looking at Tang San's bony and rugged body, Tang Hao seemed to realize something crucial and secretly said, there was not enough food, so malnutrition led to low innate soul power. I remember when I was 6 years old, my father would even prepare a medicinal bath for me and my elder brother, almost once a day. I couldn't help but be pressed down, and the third child. Tang Hao. Old Jack saw Tang Hao in a daze and cursed, did you listen to me? I said, don't be so loud, I'm not dead. Tang Hao's tone sank as old Jack interrupted his struggling brain, feeling a bit unhappy. I planned to let him study in Nodding City. Old Jack felt that Tang Hao was hopeless, but he couldn't endure Tang San's hardships. He was still young and had an unknown future. He couldn't follow this drunken father, otherwise he wouldn't know what terrible he would look like in the future. No way. Tang Hao refused outright, being able to cultivate a fart with blue-silver grass is a complete waste of time. It's better to stay and cook for me. Yes, he can't go to school, otherwise who will cook for me in the future? Unreasonable. You are simply unreasonable. Old Jack cursed loudly, do you know what it means to confine the mistress by your side? Master Su has great confidence in the mistress. Even if he cannot go too high in soul master cultivation in the future, as long as he becomes a soul master, he will be respected and can live better than ordinary people. Tang Hao was a bit excited and said, what's the use of becoming a soul master? Not yet. He wanted to say something, but in front of old Jack, he abruptly stopped. Seeing that Tang Hao had a story, old Jack furrowed his brow, but the other person didn't want to say it, and he couldn't delve into it. He just said, Tang Hao, your life is over, but the mistress is still young. You don't have the authority to make decisions for him. Taking a deep breath, old Jack looked at Tang San and asked expectantly, San, as long as you speak up, even if Grandpa sacrifices his life, I will send you to Nodding City. Tang San looked up at Tang Hao and said, I want to become a soul master. I disagree. Tang Hao's face was like that of the 9 ghost demon gods. Although he had not released his soul power, his sense of oppression was extremely strong, and even old Jack was a bit scared. What use can level 6 soul power have? What if I have to go? Tang San looked straight at Tang Hao. You. Tang Hao was furious. Dare to confront him. No matter what is wrong with him, he is ultimately the father. How dare his son oppose his father? It's just unbelievable. But Tang San is not fond of this kind of father-son argument. If the father is not like a father, then the son does not need to be filial. Born but not raised, broken hair can be returned. Although Tang Hao did not completely neglect him, the relationship between the two was not significant. Tang San felt that he would still be able to afford it in the future. As the slap was about to come down, old Jack stopped in front of Tang San, hugged him, and cursed, Tang Hao, are you still not a man? You're actually going to hit a child. Old Jack, this has nothing to do with you. Can't I teach the boy a lesson? Tang Hao scolded. I'll get involved now. Old Jack stubbornly said, Tang San is someone I've watched grow up with, like my grandson. Since he's my grandson, why can't I take care of him? Tang Hao's chest heaved violently, and he stared at Tang San for a while before saying, "Okay, I agree to let you go to Notting College to study, but on one condition, you can't say it's my Tang Hao's son in the future." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Suspected of other crossovers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Suspected of other crossovers, Tang Hao. Angry old Jack's fingers trembled as he said, "Just because the mistress doesn't listen to you, are you going to sever the father-son relationship with him? How could you be such a father?" He learned to do household chores at the age of 2, gradually learning from being unfamiliar at the beginning, becoming proficient, and then taking care of your daily life. At the age of 3, he started picking firewood, and at the age of 4, he started helping you move smaller raw iron. I have seen all of these things, and the people in the village have also seen them. Is your conscience made of iron and stone? Will it not hurt? Tang Hao ignored old Jack's earnest words and said to Tang San, "You can go if you agree to this matter. Otherwise, don't go. You're just a useless father." Old Jack was furious. He never thought that a father could be so bottomless. Isn't Tang San really his biological son, but the son of some enemy? I came to Holy Soul Village just to torture Tang San. What kind of grudge do you have? Go find that enemy. What's the matter with Guan Shaosan? Old Jack finally understood that Tang Hao was tormenting the mistress, but as he grew old and refined, he understood that if Tang Hao couldn't let go, he was tormenting himself. Think carefully, Tang Hao said and returned to the blacksmith's shop. Helpless, Tang San had to send old Jack home first. Why is this happening? Forget it, that's okay. At least on the surface, Tang Hao has nothing to do with himself. Good child, if you go back and persuade Tang Hao, I guess he's just talking angrily. After old Jack returned home, he drank a bowl of water and calmed down a bit. He said to Tang San, "If Tang Hao really doesn't want you anymore, just come and stay at Grandpa's house. Grandpa's house is bigger." "Well, I will listen to Grandpa Jack, and I also really like Grandpa Jack who is kind." Tang San's words are not hypocritical, but he really thinks so. On one hand, there is a drunkard father who needs him to take care of food, drink, and live since he was 2 years old and can't even speak a word. On the other hand, there is a kind and amiable grandfather who has been taking good care of him for 5 years and often finds it convenient for him. Do we still need a choice? After Tang San returned to the blacksmith's shop, Tang Hao just walked in from the door, holding a lead box in his hand. His face was gloomy and terrifying, as if he wanted to choose someone to devour. What happened? Tang San couldn't help but ask. Tang Hao worked hard to calm his breathing. 3 minutes later, he calmed down, placed the iron box on the table, opened it, and revealed a soul bone emitting a blue and gold light. This is the right leg bone of another blue-silver emperor in the 100,000 grade. Tang San's pupils contracted sharply. Why? I don't know you. I've read the book in the Martial Soul Hall for nothing. Tang Hao suppressed his anger. This is the soul bone, absorb it, hurry up. Let him absorb it at this time. What happened? Can't it be? Tang San thought of a possibility. The blue-silver emperor has an accident. In the original work, the blue-silver emperor was planted by Tang Hao in a cave behind a waterfall, and it seems that his soul bones were also placed there. Apart from a little less sunshine, the place is still quite moist. Tang Hao planted the blue-silver emperor there, probably afraid that others would pick him as an ordinary blue-silver grass. Based on Tang San's observations over the years, people in Holy Soul Village, especially farmers, like to pick a blue-silver grass and put it in their mouths when resting under the shade of trees. Because the juice of bluegrass carries a slight sweetness. If something happens to the blue-silver emperor now, it can only be said that it happened in the recent period. So, are they other travelers? Tang San thought of this possibility. What are you stunned for? I used to be quite smart, but now I've become stupid. Absorb it quickly and don't waste time, Tang Hao said impatiently. The process of absorbing soul bones won't cause any pain. Don't worry, just put it on your right leg and use your soul power. Tang San, who had regained his senses, picked up the soul bone and placed it on his right leg. He activated his soul power and found that it had actively entered the right leg bone of the blue-silver emperor. Then, the blue and gold bone slowly sank into his right leg. In just 30 minutes, Tang San absorbed all of it and used Xiantian Gong. He found that his soul power could no longer be improved. It was obvious that he had reached level 10, with a much higher probability. However, without a soul ring, the excess soul power was suppressed, making it difficult to determine the exact level of soul power. However, even though the right leg bone of the blue-silver emperor shares the same origin as his martial soul blue-silver grass, it did not transform his martial soul into the blue-silver emperor. It was still the same energetic blue-silver grass. Why is this happening? Tang San had some speculation based on the absorption of soul bones by soul masters in the original work. That is, martial soul and soul bone are two different things. If a martial soul obtains a soul ring, unless it is in special circumstances, its soul skills will be related to the martial soul, or in other words, it is a derivative of the martial soul's own abilities. After the soul bone is absorbed by the soul master, the soul bone skill is not directly related to the martial soul, but rather a skill possessed by the soul beast itself. In short, the soul master absorbing soul bones is equivalent to grafting a part of the skills of the soul beast itself, and it is highly likely that the soul beast itself has the most fundamental ability. At first glance, it seems reasonable that the right leg bone of the 100,000-year blue-silver emperor could not awaken the blue-silver emperor for him. However, Tang San felt that after absorbing this soul bone, the soul power consumed by Tang San was also constantly recovering from afar. This should be the soul bone skill. Spring breeze blows back to life. However, the spring breeze has given birth to this name again, which is a bit too long and may make people feel suspicious of having too many words. Therefore, it has been changed to another name. Life continuously. Have you finished absorbing it? Then promise me one more thing, Tang Hao said in a deep voice. Don't let anyone discover that you have soul bones. If you can't continue on the road of Soul Master in the future, go back to Holy Soul Village and become a blacksmith. When you're about to die of old age, find a place where no one is around, dig a pit, and bury it yourself. Tang San was covered in black lines. Digging a pit and burying oneself. Undoubtedly Tang Kui, the brain circuit is not comparable to others. After Tang Hao finished his instructions, regardless of whether Tang San agreed or not, he walked out of the house and walked towards the hillside where Tang San often picked firewood, disappearing into the moonlight. Did you really leave? The next day, Tang San simply tidied up the kitchen utensils, tableware, and bedding in the room and went to old Jack's house. Tang Hao, has that guy really left? Old Jack helped pack Tang San's luggage and sighed, he's really a man without any sense of responsibility. Unfortunately, the village lacks a blacksmith. In the future, if the villagers want to repair agricultural tools, they will have to go to Notting City. Grandpa, don't worry, I have learned to forge iron and can help repair farm tools for the villagers. In this year's Xiantian Gong cultivation, Tang San's strength has also increased significantly, he can handle the forging hammer, and yesterday he just absorbed a 100,000-year-old soul bone, which has greatly increased his strength. The craftsmanship may not be very good, but if it were just to repair the farming tools for the villagers, Tang San felt that there was no problem at all. You. Haha. Old Jack laughed heartily and thought Tang San was joking, making him happy. You're so young, you're not much taller than a forging hammer, are you? As the saying goes, one cannot judge by appearance, and the sea cannot be measured. Ha! That's a cultural thing, I learned it. Old Jack laughed. Seeing that old Jack didn't believe it, Tang San had to prove it, so he pulled his sleeve and returned to the blacksmith's house, starting to light a fire and push the bellows. The slender body, like a bamboo pole, carried a forging hammer even larger than him, using force to strike, dancing gracefully like a demon god in the wind. In no time, a piece of refined iron was forged. "Third, do you have such great strength?" Old Jack was surprised. "If it's for forging, it's barely enough." Tang San shyly smiled and put down his forging hammer, looking at the iron block that was about to be flattened by him. He thought to himself, the sudden surge in strength really requires some time to adapt. It's just 3 months before the start of school, and there's plenty of time to exercise, which can help me control the corresponding physical strength. In this way, Tang San practiced the random cloak hammer technique with Tang Hao's remaining iron blocks at the blacksmith's shop during the day, went to old Jack's house to rest at night, and spent the remaining time practicing the unique skills listed in the Xiantian treasure record, such as Xiantian Gong, Xuanyu Hand, Ghost Shadow and controlling cranes and capturing dragons. When he had free time, he would pick firewood for old Jack. As for the cultivation of purple extreme magic eyes, this thing can only be practiced during the characteristic time and does not take up much time. In the blink of an eye, it was 3 months later. Tang San's body has already developed simple muscle lines and his body has become much stronger. At this moment, he is packing up his bedding and clothes, preparing to report to Nodding City. Originally, Tang San wanted to go alone, but old Jack insisted on seeing him off. He was only 6 years old and it was not safe to walk alone. He had gone to the Martial Soul Branch Hall of Nodding City with Su Yuntao to read a book before, and later he also walked back alone. "We have arrived at Nodding City." Half a day later, old Jack turned back to Tang San, who was practicing behind the carriage, and showed a kind smile. "Nodding City is not too far from our Holy Soul Village. If you take the ox cart, it will take half a day." Tang San opened his eyes and looked up to see the thick city wall, which was over 10 meters high, with the 3 characters, Nodding City, on the city gate. "Familiar city, your king. I'm back." Tang San thought twice in his heart, from this moment on, I will become the ruler of this world. After the 2nd year of middle school, Tang San spoke up and said, "Grandpa Jack, let's go to Nodding City." Tao Gu said, "If we enter the city, we should first find him. After all, the city people look down on us rural people. Nodding College is a soul master college, and the people there may not even let us in if they look at our simple attire." "Okay, Master Su is a good person." Old Jack also knew that the villagers were difficult to walk in the city and needed acquaintances to guide them. However, after entering the city, the ox cart was parked at the post station next to the city gate. Not aristocrats, carriages, ox carts, etc. cannot carry people. Tang San and old Jack walked to the Martial Soul Hall. The guard at the door smiled when he saw Tang San and said, "Xiao Tang, it's been a while since you last came. If it weren't for Su Yuntao saying earlier that you had awakened a soul power martial soul, we would have thought you had been abducted by human traffickers. Aren't I working hard for the awakening of the martial soul?" Tang San chuckled and introduced old Jack to the guard. "This is my grandfather, the village chief of Holy Soul Village. Can we go in and take a look together?" "In principle, it's not possible, but you're the exception." "Go in," the guard laughed. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Reporting to Nodding College. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Reporting to Nodding College. Thank you, Uncle Lin. I will bring you tea in the future. After apologizing to the guards, Tang San took old Jack's hand and headed towards the Martial Soul Branch Hall in Nodding City. Old Jack had never been to such a place before. Although he has been to Nodding City many times, he has always been outside looking at the tall buildings of the Martial Soul Hall, but inside, it is his first time visiting. At this moment, old Jack was like Grandma Lu entering the Grand View Garden, looking left and right, carefully examining the furnishings in the Marshal's Soul Hall. He was amazed and curious about everything here, but he didn't dare to touch them, afraid of damaging them and not being able to compensate. His movements were quite cautious. "Grandpa, it's my first time entering the real Marshal's Soul Hall. Do you have anything to say? Compared to the stone house in our village, how is it?" Although Tang San doesn't come here often, he is still an old acquaintance and asked about old Jack's feelings. I can't compare. In your words, yes, it's the word magnificent. Old Jack slammed his mouth, with a strong expression of longing, and then said, "This place is still my first time coming in. It's really beautiful. In the future, our village's Martial Soul Hall will also be so bright. It would be great, and the children will definitely have a better life." "Don't worry, Grandpa, there will be opportunities in the future," Tang Sanchao said. Just as the grandfather and grandson were chatting about their daily routine, Su Yuntao walked out of the passage on one side of the hall. When he saw the two, his eyes lit up and he waved at them, saying, "Third, you're here. Nodding college is starting, and I knew you were back. You've been coming here these past few days at your leisure, but there's nothing to do. Brother Tao, I really trouble you." Tang San felt a bit embarrassed. "You're just being too serious, what's the trouble? I graduated from Nodding College and will accompany you later. Even if I visit my alma mater, there may not be any teachers I know there." Su Yuntao chuckled and scratched his head, his gaze falling on old Jack. "Old village chief, this is the first time I've really come here. What do you think? If you have time in the future, you can come often." "I, Su Yuntao, still have some thin noodles here. I dare not trouble Master Su. I'll come and take a look with the third party today," said old Jack, feeling a bit scared, but with a smile on his face. He also knew that it was because of Tang San that Su Yuntao respected him, but he still had an uncontrollable joy in his heart. Old Jack and Su Yuntao didn't chat for long when a woman in a short skirt and holding a stack of documents walked out of the nearby passage. That's exactly Su Yuntao's girlfriend. "Cece. Xiao San, long time no see. Why haven't you come over recently?" Seeing Tang San, Cece's eyes lit up and she walked over with a smile. She raised her hand and pinched Tang San's round face. "It's really cute. Do girls like to pinch children's faces?" Tang San, feeling somewhat helpless, had the intention to resist, but at this moment he could only put on a somewhat disdainful face, which made Su Yuntao and old Jack burst into laughter. "Since you have come, should you go and visit Master Ma Zayunuo?" Su Yuntao asked. "During this time, he has been thinking about you, a smart child, and your blue-silver tea. Everyone has come, but if we don't go and visit, we can't justify it. Coincidentally, I also brought blue-silver tea, but it's just my grandfather." Tang San looked at old Jack. "This is the Wulin Hall, and nothing will happen." Su Yuntao looks at Cece, who also takes old Jack to the back garden to chat, and brings him some tea and dim sum, saying the usual things. Upon seeing this, Tang San also breathed a sigh of relief. The others here didn't know old Jack, and now that Cece was with him, it was safer. Perhaps he could also get to know the personnel of the Martial Soul Hall here. The two of them walked through the lobby and entered a passage, with portraits hanging on the walls on both sides, which were the main sub-halls of this Martial Soul Hall throughout history. "Come to the door." Dong dong dong. Su Yuntao knocked on the door. "Come in." A serious sound came from inside the door. Su Yuntao turned the door handle and opened the door. The furnishings in the room are very simple, with a desk, a bookshelf, and a green plant placed at the window, simple yet fresh. On the chair behind the desk, there sat an elderly man with wrinkles all over his face, holding a feather pen in his hand and signing on the paper. His gaze was quite serious, but he looked very energetic overall. This person is exactly Mathiano. It's Xiao Tang. Compared to Su Yuntao and others calling him Xiao San, Matthew Noah calls him Xiao Tang, which is a bit more solemn. At this moment, on Mateo's serious face, the furrowed brow eased slightly, as if a stubborn rock covered in grooves had grown moss, causing others to relax their nervous hearts a little. Poor Su Yuntao standing next to Tang San greeted Ma Zayunuo, but he only nodded. Meeting every day is not as good as Tang San, whom I haven't seen in a long time. Grandpa Matthew, have you been doing well lately? Tang San greeted him and apologized for his long future, handing a small jar to him. What is this? Matthew was curious. Blue silver grass dried. Tang San smiled, Brother Tao, you've been missing my blue silver tea. The so-called blue silver tea actually refers to Tang San selecting the tender leaves of blue silver grass, drying them in the sun, and then frying them 36 times in a pot. The dried blue silver grass is used to brew tea, which has a unique and refreshing taste. It has a slight sweetness on the palate, but after aftertaste, it has a unique flavor, even beneficial for refreshing. In Tang San's view, this thing is equivalent to coffee without side effects, or stimulants, and the like. Grandpa, I'll take it. Matthew Noah looked at Su Yuntao angrily and then opened the lid with a smile on his face. A faint fragrance rushed in, not strong, but it relaxed his somewhat tired body. If it weren't for your discovery, no one in the world would have known that blue silver grass has such a function. The leaves of blue silver grass can be sun-dried and copied several times, surprisingly refreshing. If it weren't for Tang San's discovery, who would have known? After collecting the blue silver grass, Ma Zayunuo asked Tang San why he didn't join the Martial Soul Hall. Xiao Tang, the Martial Soul Hall Academy is very good, much better than Nodding Academy. Aren't you really going? Although your martial soul is only blue silver grass, your 6th level innate soul power is also qualified to go there. As long as you say a word, I can write a recommendation letter and personally send you there. Thank you very much for Grandpa Mathiano's kindness, but I won't join at the moment. Tang San shook his head. If there was a reason, it was still a matter of identity. If he dared to go, Tang Hao would dare to deal with him. However, when faced with Mateo, he gave a similar reason as Su Yuntao had said, but more specifically. You know, I want to study the theory of martial soul cultivation. Although there is the most information in the world at the Martial Soul Hall, you also know that I am just a 6-year-old child, and the martial soul is only a blue silver grass. The teachers at the Martial Soul Academy are all soul masters, at least at the level of Soul King. Will they believe a child's words? They will only think that I, as a weed martial soul, want to challenge their authority. Grandpa Mathiano, as you know, my ideas are fanciful, perhaps most of them are unrealistic, but to make a breakthrough in martial soul research, what is needed is these fanciful ideas. Soul Master, strength is paramount. As a commoner Soul Master, I have no power or influence there. If I am bullied, I cannot resist. In order to resist, my personality needs to change. At least, I don't want to be influenced by the educational environment of the Martial Soul Academy into a way that I don't even know. I don't like fighting, I like reading, and I enjoy studying. Matthew sighed and said, it seems like I was overthinking. You must have thought a lot in the 3 months before the start of school, right? If in the past, the environment of the Martial Soul Academy was good, but in the past 6 years, many small families have joined the Martial Soul Hall. Their children are studying at the Martial Soul Academy, and they really don't look up to talented ordinary children. Studying at Nodding College is also good. You can have a little more freedom, but you must be down to earth and not set your sights too high, as it will not benefit you. Don't worry, Grandpa Matthew, don't you know what my temper is? Even if I publish a theory, I will first find existing evidence or conduct experiments on myself, and I won't publish it casually, Tang San said. After reminiscing with Master Matthew, Tang San decided to go to Nodding College. Alright, there's plenty of time to chat in the future. Su Yuntao, you can take Xiao Tang to Nodding College, Matthew laughed. No problem, I was already free today. Su Yuntao sent Tang San and old Jack to Notting College. The scale of Notting College is quite large, similar to a high school in a previous life. It should be said that it is truly a Soul Master Academy. When the gatekeeper saw Su Yuntao, he immediately opened the door and didn't even ask Tang San for his martial soul certificate. His face was full of smiles, as if Su Yuntao was the owner of this place. Is this the Soul Master? Ordinary people dare not resist at all. Tang San has gained a deeper understanding of the status of Soul Masters. Xiao San, you need to study hard. Grandpa will go back. Old Jack handed Tang San a small bag containing 5 silver soul coins. This is the pocket money Grandpa gave you. It's not much. Buy more delicious food in the college. You're growing up. When this semester is over, I'll come pick you up. Thank you, Grandpa. Tang San took the bag and felt a surge of heat in his heart, wetting his eyes. After seeing old Jack disappear from sight, Tang San said to Su Yuntao, Brother Tao, just tell me where the Academic Affairs office is. I'll go by myself, after all, people always need to be independent. Then I'll leave first. When you're about to hunt soul rings, just go to the Martial Soul Hall and find me. Su Yuntao pointed out the direction of the Academic Affairs office to Tang San, gave a few simple instructions, and left Notting College. After Su Yuntao left, the gatekeeper asked cautiously, Little brother, is Master Su Yuntao your distant relative? Tang San shrugged and didn't answer directly, I've already called him Tauga. What do you think our relationship is? The gatekeeper felt a bit embarrassed, but still kindly reminded, go report now. It's almost noon, and the teachers from the Academic Affairs office may have to go for lunch. There is still an hour and a half of rest at noon. If you are late, you can't go to the dormitory. Thank you. Tang San glanced at the gatekeeper, thanked him, carried his luggage, and quickly ran to the Academic Affairs office. The teacher who received the new students took the martial soul certificate from Tang San's hand and exclaimed in surprise, Are you Tang San? Is it me? Does the teacher know me? Tang San speculated that it might be Matthew Noah or Su Yuntao who came to Notting College, explaining his situation. Yes, Su Yuntao has come to see the principal and explained your situation. However, since you are a working-class student, the school cannot allow you to enroll for free. You will only be responsible for organizing the library in the future. We know you enjoy reading books. The teacher filled out the information for Tang San, then handed out the school uniform, and then took out a brand new bedding. However, we have prepared a bedding for you, and it's also warm to sleep at night. Thank you, teacher. Tang San took the blanket and thanked the teacher. Leaving the Academic Affairs office, within a few steps, Tang San met a somewhat messy middle-aged man. Looking at the other person's untrimmed hair, disheveled beard, and simple long shirt, Tang San guessed their identity, Yu Xiaojiang. The Martial Soul Hall is true for recruiting ordinary soul masters, but a truly powerless ordinary soul master who is not born with full soul power does not receive much attention there. If someone says Bibidong is a commoner, the golden generation is a commoner. How to put it, in this world where martial souls rely on bloodline inheritance, are ordinary civilians able to possess things like Death Spider Emperor, Soul-Devouring Spider Emperor, Moon Blade, Demon Fox, and Flame Lord? Or do you have to believe that these are mutated? It can be said that their family declined and was discovered and absorbed by the Martial Soul Hall, but it cannot be said that they are civilians themselves. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Advent of Wild Soft Bone Rabbits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The Advent of Wild Soft Bone Rabbits. What's your name? New working-class student. Tang San, carrying a big bundle and holding a new blanket in his hand, was curious about his middle age. Would Notting College give students new blankets? Is he related to any of the teachers in the college? My name is Tang San, and I am indeed a new engineering student. Although he recognized the other person and did not want to answer, he should not have known the person in front of him at this time, whether it was hypocritical or not. He still had to show the necessary politeness. Where's the martial soul proof? Show me. The middle-aged man's tone was stiff, but revealed a hint of reluctance to speak. What is there to be arrogant about? Tang San cursed inwardly, but he still placed the bedding in his hand on a relatively clean stone brick before slowly taking out the martial soul certificate from his pocket. Blue silver grass martial soul with innate 6th level soul power. The middle-aged man frowned slightly. He had some understanding of blue silver grass martial soul, and none of them had innate soul power exceeding 3rd level. Congenital level 6. This child's blue silver grass is bound to mutate. As a master of martial soul theory, Xiao needs a child whose martial soul may seem useless on the surface, but in reality, his talent is extremely strong. The blue silver grass martial soul indeed meets his criteria for selecting disciples. Is level 6 too low? Innate soul power represents the potential for future cultivation. At level 6, even if the future is smooth and successful, one can reach the sky and become a soul saint. Soul saint is not enough, you must be titled Douluo. If this child is born at level 7, he can also persist once. Unfortunately. But do you still have to wait for the next one? How much more time do we need to wait? Do you want to take him? Tang San didn't care what the other person was thinking and asked, Teacher, can you return the proof to me? I'm going to the dormitory. Here. Xiao felt some dissatisfaction with Tang San's interruption of his thoughts, but did not curse out. Although he was proud in his heart, he didn't want to get angry with a 6-year-old child. He thought to himself, no, I'm born at level 6, which doesn't meet my selection criteria. It's unlikely for me to show my skills in the elite soul master competition in all the advanced colleges across the continent in the future. Moreover, my patience is a bit poor, and my cultivation speed will definitely be slow in the future. Seeing Xiao shake his head and leave with a sigh, Tang San also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Xiao had just left, otherwise the other party would have deceived him. As a child, it's not easy to refuse, after all, the more exposed you are, the more attractive the other party becomes. If he refused, Xiao wouldn't be as incompetent and furious as in fan fiction. After all, he must have known that someone behind these years was saying something wrong about him, but after all these years, he has restrained himself. His deep thoughts cannot be driven crazy by others' rejection and ridicule. Besides, Xiao and the Dean of Notting College are good friends. And what about myself? I haven't even seen the Dean before. His natural talent, innate level 6, is obviously good, comparable to the vast majority of students in this college, but he does not believe that the Dean will offend Xiao for his sake. Even if Brother Tao comes over and says good things, as the saying goes, no matter what, Xiao is the son of Yu Engine, and he has not been expelled from the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family yet. If Xiao had let go of his pride and went home to report, the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family would not have spared others. As for face, as long as it is strong enough, it is justice. This is not only about Tang San in the original work, but also about the differences among major forces. The only difference is that 50 steps make 100 steps. Although those familiar with Xiao know that his self-esteem is extremely strong, it is impossible for him to return to the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family. But what if? No one dares to gamble. That's also why he's a joke in the Soul Master world, but no one dares to mock him in front of him and can only speak sarcastically behind his back. If one's identity is there, no matter how much dissatisfaction others have in their hearts, it's just talk behind the scenes. In front of them, it's like mocking the entire Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family. Members of the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family can mock Xiao in front of him, but others cannot. People who dare to do this basically have no emotional intelligence. With his thoughts returning to focus, Tang San had already arrived at the door of the 7th house. New working class student. A child standing at the entrance of the 7th dormitory, about 1.6 meters tall, with a decorated body, bruises on his hands and feet, a square face, and a somewhat simple and honest appearance. That's right, I come from Holy Soul Village and my name is Tang San. In the future, we will be roommates. Tang San introduced himself, then crossed over the boy and found an empty bed in the dormitory, put down the bedding, and started organizing. Let's have a fight. The boy said, this is the tradition of the 7 houses, and the strongest one is the leader of the 7 houses. It's better not to do it, my martial soul is just blue silver grass, without combat power. Tang San released his martial soul, and a blue silver grass emerged from his palm. Can even blue silver grass be cultivated these days? The boy scratched his head, feeling puzzled, but didn't ask Tang San about his innate soul power. He said to Tang San, in that case, I won't fight you anymore, so others won't say I bully you. But in the future, you have to listen to me because I am the leader of the 7 houses, the strongest one. Of course, you don't think the leader has the authority. This is to fight against those noble students, who look down on us ordinary working class students. By the way, my name is Wang Sheng, and my martial soul is a tiger. Sure enough, this is exactly the same as in the original work. Working students have no human rights. Of course, Tang San did not expect any humanitarian ideas from the rulers under this semi-feudal and semi-slave system. However, as a new student, it is still necessary to pretend not to understand and ask, do the college teachers allow them to bully us? No matter what, even though I have been here for 5 years, I feel that the teachers still vaguely encourage this behavior, but we cannot cause harm or harm students. Wang Sheng shook his head, don't be afraid either. As the leader, I should protect my younger brother, but when it comes to fighting, you also need to rush forward and not be afraid. I will take action. Tang San thought to himself of Wang Sheng's speculation, encourage aristocratic students to bully working class students. It should be encouraging competition. From this perspective, it seems that Notting College is not much different from Shrek, that is, the severity of competition is different, and Shrek's bottom line is lower. Or is it the same across all continents? Perhaps, after all, the various factions of soul masters seem to serve the war. At this moment, the childlike voice at the door of Chisha interrupted Tang San's thoughts, with a hint of timidity. Excuse me, is this Chisha? Tang San looked up and saw a little girl in a pink dress standing at the entrance of the 7th dormitory, with a scorpion tail braid tied behind her head, almost hanging on the ground. The face is very delicate, not like a commoner. Tang San secretly said, the encounter of fate, the protagonist's pendant and the protagonist's temper detonator appear. Yes, this is Chisha. Wang Sheng was the second to regain his composure and walked up to Xiaowu, with a slight blush on his face. He said, hello, my name is Wang Sheng, and I am the leader here. According to the tradition of Chisha, we must fight. Whoever wins is the leader. Of course, if you give up, you can do it. A child with a budding heart, the one in front of you is a wild soul beast that has been transformed for 10,000 years. You can't deal with it. Tang San shook his head secretly. However, if you want to participate in the elite competition of the All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy, you cannot bring this wild soft bone rabbit with you. It will be of no use other than causing trouble for yourself. Fighting. Xiaowu's timidity disappeared in an instant, and she moved her wrist, her eyes shining brightly. Then come on, the leader of the 7 houses, I'll settle for Xiaowu. Wang Sheng, martial soul, tiger. Wang Sheng shouted loudly, his martial soul possessed him, with the word Wang added to his forehead, and his nails became sharp. Hee, big flower cat. However, Wang Sheng only heard a lively laughter like a light bell, and found that Xiaowu had already come to him. With a somersault, his legs caught his head and he threw him out. Wang Sheng was instantly killed. Everyone in the 7 mansions was stunned, including Tang San. However, unlike others who marveled at Wang Sheng's momentary shock, Tang San noticed Xiao Wu's forceful movements. The action of throwing Wang Sheng out was to make a bow around the waist, accumulate potential energy, and then use Wang Sheng as an arrow to shoot it out, using extremely ingenious force. Compared to the waist techniques used in waving the random cloak hammer technique, it is not too much of a concession. Tang San is certain that this is Xiao Wu's first soul skill. Waist bow. I just didn't see her martial soul possessed, nor did I see her soul ring. Obviously, it was just imitating actions, not using soul ring skills. Otherwise, Wang Sheng wouldn't have been thrown out so easily. You're really amazing. Hiss, it hurts so much. Wang Sheng climbed up from the corner of the wall, feeling a scorching sensation behind him. He gritted his teeth and became afraid of Xiao Wu. The position of the leader of the 7 houses belongs to you, he said. Hee, I was sorry just now. I didn't expect you to be so weak. Wang Sheng choked silently. After becoming the leader of Qixia, Xiao Wu issued the first command. From now on, everyone will call me Xiao Wu's sister. Yes. In the dormitory, except for Tang San, who remained silent and transparent, there was no objection. Xiao Wu didn't pay much attention to Tang San's plain appearance. She scanned the dormitory and saw that everyone had bedding, thinking about the issue of bedding. The other children of Qixia rushed to contribute their worn-out bedding, but Xiao Wu couldn't bear it. In the end, her gaze fell on Tang San, who was dressed simply, and the set of bedding on his bed. What's your name? Xiao Wu walked up to her, hands akimbo, showing off her boss's authority. Tang San. Third, let's discuss. Can you lend me the bedding? As the boss, Xiao Wu felt that she needed to have the appearance of the boss and couldn't steal anything, let alone steal something from a 6-year-old kid. Although the soul beast world is a world of the fittest, in human society, I don't know if it is, but Xiao Wu thinks it's better to be gentle. However, if Tang San gave it himself, there would be no problem. If you can defeat Wang Sheng, you should have already obtained a soul ring and become a soul master, right? Tang San didn't want to sleep with Xiao Wu and decided to point a clear path for him. The Martial Soul Hall will distribute gold soul coins to soul masters. Soul masters, 1 month, 1 gold soul coin. With the money, you can buy bedding. A gold soul coin can be exchanged for 10 silver soul coins, while a silver soul coin can be exchanged for 100 copper soul coins. A set of bedding only costs 3 copper soul coins. Soul coin. As a 100,000-year-old soul beast that has undergone rigid transformation, in some aspects, Xiao Wu is very mature, but in other aspects, she is also very immature and doesn't even understand anything, such as currency. In human society, buying anything requires money, but she doesn't know how to get it. Now Tang San gave her a direction and immediately ran out. Is Xiao Wu already a soul master? Wang Sheng murmured to the others, from now on, Qixia will listen to Xiao Wu. Yes, boss Wang Sheng. Obviously, for Xiao Wu, who had just become the leader of Qixia, the former working-class student of Qixia was more convinced of Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng, where is the cafeteria? Tang San felt a bit hungry and planned to have a meal. It's the building across from the 7th building. Wang Sheng pointed to a 2-story small building 100 meters away. It's not good to go alone as the new and old leaders have just taken office. When she comes back, we'll go together. As the former leader, I'll treat everyone to a meal. The food on the first floor is quite cheap and full. Oh. Tang San doesn't want to be so unsociable, he's ready to wait for a while. 10 minutes later, Xiao Wu returned with a new bed, still pink. Afterwards, at the suggestion of Wang Sheng, Xiao Wu agreed to go to the cafeteria for a meal, and the group was also considered grand and magnificent, quite spectacular, isn't the mistress a bit timid? Late at night, Tang Hao came to the window of Nodding City and looked at Tang San, who was sleeping soundly. His brows furrowed and he said, "And that girl, is that fate?" "Forget it, anyway, with the third party's talent, the chance of breaking through the title Douluo in the future is slim. After graduating from Nodding City, we will definitely go our separate ways and kill her, leaving her soul bone behind. Now, I need to do one thing, which is to find the thief who stole Ayin." Whether Xiaowu's first soul ring was condensed before Tang San went hunting or after, the original work did not say, but after Tang San revealed her century-old soul ring, she also revealed it. Considering that she is a soul beast that has been transformed for 100,000 years, the probability of condensing after transformation is higher, otherwise she would not have any self-protection power. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Nodding's First Course. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Nodding's first course. Coming out of the cafeteria, Tang San rubbed his round and plump belly and said to himself, "It's good to be full on the first floor, but if you want your body to develop quickly, you still need to eat something good." He has 5 silver soul coins, equivalent to 500 copper soul coins. He can eat enough, but if he eats well, it's not enough. To build a strong physique, one must earn money. The ways to make money: forging iron. This is indeed a path, but we cannot waste too much time here. He needs to study which type of soul beast the first soul ring of his blue-silver grass martial soul needs to be obtained from. For Yu Xiaojiang's theory, plant martial souls use soul rings from animal soul beasts. Tang San felt that it was nonsense. Martial soul is not a real thing, but a product that lies between energy and matter. Similarly, his blue-silver grass martial soul is not a real blue-silver grass plant. As long as its attributes are consistent with blue-silver grass, the soul rings of animal soul beasts can also be attached. For example, his blue-silver grass has extremely strong vitality, and the vitality of animal soul beasts like the jade swan is also terrifying. Can't blue-silver grass absorb the soul rings of these soul beasts? Therefore, in Tang San's view, if we don't pay attention to the evolution of bloodline, as long as the attributes match, any soul ring produced by any soul beast can be added to the martial soul. Otherwise, his Haotian hammer martial soul needs to find a hammer soul beast. In order to determine the target, Tang San went to the martial soul hall to search for information for research. When Matthew saw Tang San's arrival, he was happy but also a little strange. "Xiao Tang, have you encountered some trouble? Why did you come back?" "My soul power cultivation has reached level 10, and I am preparing to search for information to study which type of soul beast my blue-silver grass should choose." Tang San's words greatly shocked Master Ma Zayunuo. "Level 10. Are you practicing so fast?" For the past 3 months, Tang San's blue-silver grass improved by 1 level every month. Including the start of the school year, there were a total of 4 levels. How could Tang San's blue-silver grass cultivate so quickly? Is he dreaming? Or is it that Tang San has fallen? Not right. A fallen person with a violent temperament, even ordinary people can see that something is wrong. Tang San's eyes are clear and clear, definitely not those bastards who give up being human just to improve their soul power. Moreover, the small village of Holy Soul Village has no access to the meditation method of becoming a fallen person. But how did Tang San cultivate it? Whether as the elder of Tang San or the master of the Nodding Palace, he and Ma Zayunuo must ask clearly to prevent Tang San from going astray. Perhaps it's because my blue-silver grass has mutated. After all, ordinary blue-silver grass cannot have level 6 soul power. The matter of the right leg bone of the 100,000-year blue-silver emperor and the Xiantian skill cannot be disclosed, and the cultivation speed can only be summarized as the variation of the martial soul. After all, his blue-silver herb is not ordinary. However, this is not enough, we need to find another reason. Also, I have read the collection of books in the Martial Soul Hall, and it is said that there is a simulated cultivation environment. Blue silver grass is everywhere. When I was in the Holy Soul Village, I placed blue silver grass under the mattress, and the yard was also filled with blue silver grass. Ma Ziyunuo believed it and smiled. With the mutation of martial souls and the ubiquitous simulated cultivation environment, blue silver grass actually has an advantage over other martial souls in this aspect. Well, Grandpa makes the decision and will give you the backyard. You can also stay here in the future. Grandpa Mathiano, I know you don't want to take advantage of it for nothing, Ma Ziyunuo interrupted Tang San with a serious expression. So, this is for rent to you. Rent is to help clean this Martial Soul Hall, and I won't have anyone else come to clean it in the future. Can you do it? Can. Tang San understood that this was the convenience given to him by Matteo Ricci, so he agreed. If he refused at this moment, Matteo Ricci would not be happy. Besides, there's one more thing. What's up? If possible, I'll definitely help. Tang San thought without hesitation. You're a little slippery person, Matthew laughed heartily. It's definitely something you can do. That's why I hope if you want to publish articles in the future, please consider our Martial Soul Palace's Martial Soul newspaper first. This is nature. In the future, if he wants to publish his theory, he naturally chooses the most authoritative Martial Soul newspaper. A more practical reason is that he currently only knows Mathiano and has no way to submit to the Tiendo Daily and Xinghua Daily. However, when Tang San first learned that there were newspapers on Douluo Continent, he was quite surprised. Is it not strange for newspapers to exist in a society with such backward systems? However, Tang San didn't think much about it. The existence of newspapers would be beneficial for his reputation to spread. Finally, Mathiano said, there is one more thing, the knowledge and theories you will have in the future, which will be publicly available in the Martial Soul Hall. You can pass them on casually, it's okay. The theories you have created yourself can be passed on to the public, but those that are not publicly available in the Martial Soul Hall cannot be passed on to the public. Remember. I made a note of it. Tang San nodded heavily. The precious knowledge of martial soul cultivation is priceless and can even make a small family a major family. It cannot be easily spread, as it is the foundation for a power to establish itself. Subsequently, Tang San took advantage of the still dark night to go to the backyard of the Martial Soul Hall to tidy up the miscellaneous items and prepare to start researching tonight to determine the selection of the first soul ring, the next day. In the morning light on the horizon broke the silence of the night. Tang San rushed over, after all, for the first class, he still needed to be present, and the corresponding classmates and teachers also needed to get to know each other and leave an impression. On the way, I met Xiao Wu and she had some impression of Tang San, so she followed along. Last night, Tang San stayed up all night. Xiao Wu felt strange, but she didn't say much. However, when she arrived at the classroom, the new students in the class only knew Tang San. Unable to bear his temper, he began to have nothing to say and said, I didn't expect we were assigned to the same class. It's really lucky. What is your martial soul? What level of soul power is it? Mine is a rabbit, a soft bone rabbit, a very cute little white rabbit, and I am born with full soul power. Blue silver grass with 6 levels of innate soul power. Tang Sanyi succinctly stated. Blue silver grass. Level 6 soul power, isn't it considered high talent? Xiao Wu wanted to determine the average innate soul power of human soul masters to avoid being too high. Profile. Fortunately, she met Tang San, and if it were any other child, she wouldn't be able to answer at all. It can be said that they are excellent, exceeding 70% of soul masters. On the mainland, those with innate soul power exceeding level 5, even if they have extraordinary talents, can be recruited by some major forces. Wow! So powerful. What kind of talent is innate full soul power? Xiao Wu felt like she suddenly spoke out about innate full soul power, which was a bit eye-catching. The innate talent of full soul power can be said to be a demon, Tang San said. In the original work, Xiao Wu is the one with the best cultivation talent. Eating, drinking, sleeping, and sleeping can automatically increase her soul power, without the need for hard cultivation. Is my talent so high? Huh, it's truly me. Xiao Wu was praised and immediately lost in pride, nodding incessantly. She looked at Tang San with a studious gaze, thinking that this little brother was very good at flattering. However, as she shook her head, the scorpion tail braids at the back of her head swayed, almost no boy could resist the thought of pulling them. Tang San finally held back. But the other boys are real little boys. And then, bang! Xiao Wu, like a conditioned reflex, suddenly turned around and kicked over the table behind her. She looked at the boy who pulled her braid and said, "What the hell are you doing?" Tang San. What? Lao Siji, I can't afford to provoke you. I didn't mean it, please forgive me. The boy was startled and immediately apologized. Humph. When the boy lifted the desk, a young man in a black robe walked in, holding a book with a black cover in his hand. The young man came to the podium, put down his book, turned around, and wrote the words ink trace on the blackboard. Then, he introduced himself to Tang San and others, saying, "Hello everyone, from now on, I will be your homeroom teacher. My name is Ink Trace, and my martial soul is a spear with 27 levels of soul power, and I am a strong attack-type soul master. Now, let's introduce ourselves one by one and get to know each other. After all, in the next 6 years, if nothing unexpected happens, you all have to stay in the same class. I hope the classmates in the class can get along well." Starting from the girl sitting in the front row. After Mo Chen finished speaking, his gaze fell on Xiao Wu and he extended his finger to her. And Xiao Wu jumped up directly and said, "My name is Xiao Wu. The dance I dance for has a soft bone rabbit as its martial soul. You can call me Xiao Wu sister. I am now a level 13 soul master." After speaking, Xiao Wu had a high-profile martial soul possession, and the yellow soul ring that floated up and down surprised all the students in the class. Low-key. Her temper cannot do it. But other students didn't expect that someone would become a soul master right after enrolling. By the way, the graduation standard for junior colleges is to become a soul master, which means having a soul ring. She should be able to apply for graduation directly, right? Mo Chen's eyes fixed and he said to himself, 6 years old, 100-year-old soul ring, is it really something that ordinary people can have? It shouldn't be a lady from a big family who came out to experience life, right? This carefree personality is not like it can be raised by ordinary people. Most working-class students are cautious. Forget it, when we talk to her later, it's better to speak in a gentle tone. After labeling the girl with a long braid as not to be provoked, in her heart, Mo Chen gestured to Xiao Wu to put away her martial soul and said to the boy sitting next to her, "Next. My name is Tang San and I come from Holy Soul Village. My martial soul is blue silver grass, but it may have mutated and I have a level 6 soul power. In the 3 months before the start of school, I worked hard to cultivate and my soul power has reached level 10. Therefore, I hope to take a leave from teacher Mo Chen after class and go to the soul hunting forest to hunt soul beasts." Tang San's neither humble nor arrogant attitude lit up Mo Chen's eyes. This is the genius among the common people. Although I don't know what blue-silver grass can be cultivated into, with this cultivation speed, I will definitely become a powerful soul master in the future. Don't think that the original protagonist group has high innate soul power, just think that during the D period, there were many innate soul power owners above level 5 on the mainland. Among those major sects, there were mostly members of the Soul sect and below, and the Soul King was already considered a mid to high level. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Do you want to have a blast on the opposite side? You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 9. Do you want to have a blast on the opposite side? Hello everyone, my name is Wang Wu. Hello everyone, my name is Kunliu. In just about a minute, all the students in the class have been introduced. After all, there are only a few who can become soul masters, and there are only 15 people in the whole class. Mo Chen took down everyone's names, closed the attendance list on the podium, and said, "Okay, let's arrange the courses for this semester. 7 days a week, 5 days of classes, 2 days of rest, classes, basically in the morning and afternoon. You need to go to school to clean, but I suggest that if you have time after cleaning, practice more. Alright, that's the basic situation. Now, let's start your first lesson. Literacy. The 15 students in the class are all working-class students, most of whom come from small villages near Notting City and do not recognize a few big characters, requiring basic education. The working-class students born in Notting City are literate, but those students are in another class. When the college divides classes, even if they are all working-class students, they are divided into urban and rural areas. Before Tang San, he also asked Wang Xing about the working-class students in the 7 Shis, 8 Shis, and 9 Shis, all of whom came from villages near Notting City. The working-class students in the 6 Shis, 5 Shis, and 4 Shis were all born in Notting City, while the remaining 3 Shis, 2 Shis, and 1 Shis were the children of noble families of all sizes in Notting City, as well as some formal students whose families could afford tuition fees. There are 9 dormitories and 3 levels, which can be said to be a clear distinction. In the class where Tang San is in, except for him and Xiao Wu who are in the 7th class, the other 13 are in the 8th and 9th classes. They can't read and can't even understand their thoughts, so they can only take it slow. When it comes to the idea of the underworld, Tang San has also seen Su Yuntao give him the idea of the martial soul hall of the underworld. The description is very simple. Close your eyes to meditate, sense the martial soul, communicate, and control the martial soul to absorb energy from heaven and earth, making it flow in your body and slowly transform into soul power. During this process, the martial soul took the dominant position. That is to say, most people's meditation practice to enhance soul power is to help soul masters absorb the energy from heaven and earth, convert it into soul power, rather than soul masters themselves being able to absorb the energy from heaven and earth through meditation. He could think of having children who have not awakened their martial souls meditate, and perhaps other forces could also think of it, but it is estimated that they have all failed, and not a single cultivation has been successful. Tang San estimated that even with more advanced meditation techniques, soul masters in this world still need to use their martial souls to absorb energy from heaven and earth, rather than relying on themselves, or rather, relying mainly on their martial souls. After all, in the original work, Yu Xiaojiang provided a very simple method for soul power operation, but the martial arts hero Tang San had no interest in it. Practicing soul power through the use of martial arts is still a somewhat illusory fantasy in this era. Therefore, in this era, the innate soul power talent of martial souls is extremely important, which may represent whether soul masters can better communicate with martial souls and represent the efficiency of soul masters in refining the energy of heaven and earth. However, people in this world are also lucky because having a martial soul represents infinite possibilities. However, from the perspective of ordinary people at the bottom, the existence of martial souls is unfortunate because they have no opportunity to resist those powerful soul masters. The disputes between continents ultimately stem from the struggles between soul masters. Even in the era of soul guides thousands of years later, the main target audience of soul guides is still soul masters. This may be a common problem among all worlds with extraordinary powers. However, compared to the mystical world that can easily destroy the heavens and earth, the common people in this world have the opportunity to resist, but it only takes a longer time. To get to the point, Tang San thought that he could also study it. After all, it is based on martial soul. Although he has Shen Gong, which can help him absorb the energy of heaven and earth without awakening his martial soul, it can be said to be a peerless divine skill in this world, but after all, it is a world of martial soul, and perhaps it can be combined. Although Xiantiangong has already enabled him to reach the pinnacle of this world, his dark thoughts are also the crystallization of wisdom in this world and cannot be looked down upon. Dedicated to becoming a researcher, arrogance is not advisable. Tang San, do you need the teacher's help to hunt soul beasts? After class, Mo Chen called out to Tang San, who had taken a half-month-long vacation, and kindly asked, the teachers in the college can help students hunt the first soul ring for free. Thank you, Teacher Mo Chen. However, I have found the two masters of the martial soul hall and confirmed the types of soul beasts to be hunted. Tang Sanwan declined Mo Chen's offer. Is it Su Yuntao? That guy is in the same class as me, but in different classes. Mo Chen smiled and caught a glimpse of Yu Xiaojiang passing by the window with a serious expression, reminding him, there is a master in our college who has a bad reputation. Don't approach him. If he wants to take you as his apprentice, just refuse. Thank you, Teacher Mo Chen, for reminding me. However, I heard that he and the dean are friends, so if he refuses directly, he won't file a complaint, will he? Tang San wanted to confirm the consequences of the refusal. Just refuse directly and don't say anything extra, it's okay, Mo Chen said. Although his name as a master is a joke, he has a high self-esteem and won't turn his back on a child's refusal. After all these years, he couldn't have been unaware that we were talking about him behind his back, but he has endured it. To be honest, he can also be considered a strange flower. Saying goodbye to Mo Chen and leaving the office, Xiao Wu stopped Tang San. She had been waiting outside just now and asked, aren't you also born with full soul power? How did you cultivate so quickly? Perhaps it's because the affinity between me and the blue-silver grass martial soul is relatively high, Tang San smiled. Besides, based on the information I found, the probability of the soft bone rabbit being born with full soul power is also the first time in mainland China. I'm also very surprised. Xiao Wu's face changed, but she immediately realized that the person in front of her was a child, and it was impossible for her to think of her identity. She said, this is not necessarily true. Maybe the soft bone rabbit martial soul with innate full soul power in the past has not been recorded. It's possible. Tang San remembered that Xiao Wu's mother seemed to have transformed, so he nodded and looked at Xiao Wu's braids behind her. However, I still think there's a higher possibility that you're not a normal person, after all, whose normal 6-year-old child's hair is so long. Xiao Wu gritted her teeth and felt that Tang San was attacking her personally, but there was really no way to refute this statement. So. Tang San stretched his voice. So what? Xiao Wu felt as if Tang San had seen through her. So, you may have hirsutism, Tang San joked, I know Su Yuntao. He is from the Martial Soul Hall and is very familiar with the environment of Nodding City. He must know where to sell hair removal cream here, which can suppress your condition of excessive hair growth. Xiao Wu was taken aback for a moment, then took a deep breath and uttered a word. Get lost. Okay, goodbye in half a month. Tang San was about to bypass Xiao Wu, but she caught him again. Is there anything else? Yes, do you have any research on martial soul cultivation? Xiao Wu asked. Yes, you're asking the right person. Tang San raised his hand and lightly supported the non-existent eyeglass frame on the bridge of his nose, making Xiao Wu quite speechless. However, his eyes at this moment were extremely bright, like the stars in the sky, very dazzling. And then what? After seeing Tang San answer, Xiao Wu looked at her without saying a word, doubting whether she had read it wrong. His eyes were so bright just now, perhaps just tears in his eyes, so he appeared sparkling. You have to say what you want to ask before I can answer, right? Tang San rolled his eyes. Also, can you let go? You say, which soul beast is better for my second soul ring? Xiao Wu let go of the small hand that was holding Tang San's arm, and her eyes rolled, wanting to try whether Tang San had real talent. Listen to the wind rabbit. Tang Sandao gave the name of a soul beast. Why? Xiaowu was puzzled and said, I want a soul skill that can confuse people, such as charm. It's inevitable that opponents I will encounter in the future will not stand still and let me use attacking soul skills. It sounds reasonable, but I don't recommend it, Tang San said. Why? Xiaowu was puzzled. What is your positioning for yourself? Or, in other words, what kind of soul master do you want to become in the future? Tang San didn't answer directly, but instead played tricks and asked her a question. At present, there are 7 types of soul masters on Douluo Continent. Strong attack, sensitive attack, control, defense, healing, support, and food. Xiaowu had heard of these before, so her answer was without hesitation. Strong attack type. Strong attack series. Your first soul skill, I can roughly understand from your comparison with Wang Sheng, should be related to the waist. That's right, my first soul skill is the waist bow. Don't interrupt me. Tang San was a bit unhappy, and Xiaowu seemed to be scared. She closed her mouth, but still pouted. What are you doing so seriously? Tang San turned a deaf ear to Xiaowu's broken mouth and continued to ask, waist bow, does the soft bone rabbit, a soul beast, have a waist? Don't insult the rabbit. Xiaowu blushed with embarrassment. Where is the soft bone rabbit without a waist? It's just a little fat. No, it's fluffy. What you said is very reasonable, but the waist of the soft bone rabbit is really fat. It is different from the ordinary rabbit. The spirit animal rabbit and the ordinary rabbit can be said to be 2 species. To be honest, I don't know what your first soul skill is from hunting the spirit animal. Tang San roast, but he had another idea in his heart. Waist bow, this soul skill, is highly likely to be used to adapt to Xiaowu's transformed body shape. After all, the possession of beast martial souls cannot completely change the skeletal structure of the human body. For example, Su Yuntao, possessed by martial souls, isn't he also a werewolf? After Xiaowu's martial soul was possessed, 2 rabbit ears grew on her head and a ball-shaped rabbit tail grew behind her waist. There seemed to be no significant change in other areas. However, the soft bone rabbit definitely doesn't have any waist arch skills, at most it's just kicking. The original small and medium-sized dance does indeed have a self-created soul skill called Rabbit Kicks Eagle. But why not treat this skill as a soul ring skill and choose a waist bow? Okay, even if it's barely understandable, in the original work, apart from the waist bow, which of the following skills are possessed by the soft bone rabbit? Charm, teleportation, invincible golden body, soft bone lock, 8-section throw, and clone. Let's not talk about charm, let's just assume that Xiaowu wants to control the enemy, but if her spiritual power is stronger than hers, she can't control it and may even be backfired. The teleportation and invincible golden body may be the talents born from other soft bone rabbits in the 10th grade. Tang San only speculated on this point. After all, in the Encyclopedia of Soul Beasts, the number of other soft bone rabbits in the 10th grade is rare, and there is no relevant record of them for 10,000 years. Just like a 10,000-year soft bone rabbit, it can possess such skills, but it is also used for escape. Fighting. Haha. They are all skills used for escape. What kind of strong attack system should they be? Just teleportation skills are suitable for being a sensitive attack type. Moreover, a strong attack type soul master also requires a certain level of defense. Xiaowu's defense is like an invincible golden body, and when using an invincible golden body, it cannot move. It's completely a life-saving skill. The soft bone lock behind. Please forgive Tang San for not having enough imagination. He couldn't understand how the shapeless soft bone rabbit used its limbs to lock other eternal soul beasts. Therefore, there is only one possibility, and that is Xiaowu's self-condensing soul ring. She can choose her own soul skill. Anyway, my first soul skill is the waist bow, and it fell from the soft bone rabbit. Xiao Wu hummed, isn't the soul ring she condensed falling from the soft bone rabbit? Can you tell me why it's listening to the wind rabbit? I think the charm skill is actually quite good. It can control enemies, and then I can throw them out with a waist bow. If the direction is towards the ground, it can also make the opponent more injured. That's very reasonable, but since you're in a strong attack style, why do you need to add a control skill to yourself? Tang San asked, your charm. If someone else's spiritual power level is high, it shouldn't have much effect, right? Think carefully, when you reach the level of the title Douluo, will you still use the charm skill? A title Douluo using charm and then using a waist bow, that scene is really beautiful. I can't even imagine it. Are you trying to please the other side to death? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. I do not provide free services. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. I do not provide free services. The little dance, which has been transformed into a soul beast for 100,000 years, is quite mature in some aspects. However, after wandering in human society for a day or two, she also feels ashamed and exclaimed, why are your thoughts so impure? When you grow up, you can still do it. Are you different from me? The other 6-year-old girls don't know what I meant in those 2 sentences just now. Tang San stared at her with big eyes, making her extremely uncomfortable. Cough, skip this topic. We're still children, we need to be pure. Tang San coughed to avoid the anxious gaze between the two. What, you said it first, Xiao Wu muttered. Different martial souls have their own advantages and disadvantages. Soft bone rabbit, as a martial soul, is not suitable for the strong attack style. It is best to follow the sensitive attack style. Tang Sandang couldn't hear it and said to himself, Xiao Wu should follow the path of a soul master. Why is it always a sensitive attack style? Compared to speed, she prefers strength. After all, before transformation, her speed is no longer slow. After transformation, she wants to experience the way De Ming and Er Ming use their fists to press people. To cultivate a martial soul, one needs to highlight its strengths and weaknesses, and utilize and strengthen its strengths. The weaknesses, on the other hand, should be mainly compensated for, but cannot be specifically strengthened, as it will only make the soul master mediocre. Tang San said seriously, the soft bone rabbit, along with all other types of rabbits, is the most skilled at running. Cough, speed, good at speed, or in other words, running. And it's also agile running. Xiao Wu's teeth creaked as she spoke to Tang San about the word escape, which she didn't really like, but she patiently listened to it. Taking a careful look at Xiao Wu, who clenched his fist, Tang San's forehead oozed a cold sweat, but he continued, an ordinary wild rabbit can run at an extremely fast speed and is extremely agile, able to turn in a straight line at almost 90 degrees. This is an advantage that other animals cannot match, and the soft bone rabbit is even more of a soul beast, which has a greater advantage. You don't play to your advantage, but instead want to add a charm. You always feel like your mind beats and you come up with something, without even considering your future carefully. Waist bow can enhance waist strength. As the first soul skill, it is actually good. After all, when the human body exerts force, it requires the strength of the waist, especially during fast and long-term running. Without a good waist, one cannot run very fast or far. You should know that the addition of soul rings can enhance the physical fitness of soul masters, especially for soul masters with beast martial souls. This enhancement is more obvious, and what kind of enhancement can charm bring you? What I can think of is only spiritual power, but how much spiritual power can a soul ring that brings enchanting soul skills enhance? According to your soul ring plan, the first soul skill is the waist bow, and the second soul skill is the charm. Therefore, the third soul skill must choose a soul skill that can help you quickly approach the enemy. After all, as your soul power increases, the opponents you encounter will also become stronger, and your spiritual power is weak. You can only approach the enemy up close to succeed. But here's the question again, what if you can't charm the enemy, or if the enemy responds instantly? You're in danger. So, in the fourth soul ring, you need to add a defense skill to yourself, otherwise your waist bow won't work, and you can still use your fists to attack. The opponent is a tough guy, but what if it's a tough guy with thick skin and great strength? Then you must find a way to find a skill that can save your life, so that you can obtain a life-saving skill without hitting a single hit or reducing the cooldown of soul skills such as teleportation. It can be said that in the original work, Xiao Wu's first 4 soul skills are all being checked and filled in. Attack. Lumbar arch. Control. Charm. Speed. Teleportation. Defense. Invincible golden body. Is it just a step-by-step high point reader? Where is not the highlight? At first glance, it looks balanced and seems very good. But in reality, everything is possible, everything is sparse and cannot form a perfect system. After listening to Tang San's analysis, Xiao Wu was immediately shocked. It seemed that she really thought that way, but, is there any problem with these types of soul skills? I think they're pretty good. Big sister, every soul ring of the martial soul is an evolution of the martial soul itself. Your reckless behavior is like joking about your future. Tang Sanma understood, but also understood that making a rabbit who had lived in the starry forest for 100,000 years understand the cultivation of martial souls is like playing the piano against a cow. Also, a soul beast that has been around for 100,000 years is ultimately a soul beast. Perhaps in terms of instinct it is much stronger than humans, but its understanding of itself may not be as good as that of humans who can constantly explore, summarize, and summarize various things around them. This is human wisdom. And soul beasts are all intellectually disabled based on their own talents. Even after living for 100,000 years, in Tang San's view, if they had not experienced the baptism of human society, their eyes still revealed clear foolishness. Aha! Is there another way to say that? Ordinary soul masters may not know these things, but I feel that you are not quite like a commoner, but rather a brainless woman from a big family. Tang San didn't hesitate to mock himself. Xiao Wu's face turned red with anger, and she suppressed the idea of beating the other person. She asked, so, what soul skill can listening to the wind rabbit bring me? Can it increase speed? Nonsense, the most commendable thing about rabbits is not only their fur, but also their speed. No matter what kind of rabbit's soul ring, it can increase your speed to a greater or lesser extent. However, I want you to choose listening to the wind rabbit not for speed, but for reaction speed. According to the case data of the Martial Soul Hall, listening to the wind rabbit can bring a soul skill to the soul master of rabbit martial souls. Listening to the wind whispering. Do you know why Ting Feng Tu named him Ting Feng? Tang San's eyes flickered with a brilliant light before Xiao Wu could answer. Tang San gave the answer. Because this kind of soul beast can sense the flow of wind, so it can anticipate danger in advance and quickly escape. It can be said that this kind of listening to the wind rabbit's perception is extremely sensitive. Even if you want to enhance your spiritual power, it is much better than charm. Moreover, with this soul skill, I guess you may be able to predict the future and judge in advance how the enemy will attack. In this way, you can also save a defense skill. After all, you can already predict the enemy's actions. If you still want to charge forward, it only proves that you are too foolish. However, if you anticipate it, you cannot avoid the enemy's attack, proving that the enemy's strength is much higher than yours. A defensive soul skill cannot change your future of being killed. Just lie flat and accept it. Xiao Wu's teeth creaked. Although Tang San's words made a lot of sense, why is this so infuriating? 10 sentences, 3 sentences are inseparable from ridicule. Where did she receive such preaching? Tang San realized that he might have gone a bit too far and carried an inappropriate emotion, which went against the demeanor of a scholar. He coughed twice, calmed his tone, and explained the origin of the soul skill of listening to Feng Yin. I saw about the story of listening to wind whispering from a soul master biography called The Story of Wind Rabbit Hunting Souls in the Martial Soul Hall. The author's martial soul is listening to Wind Rabbit, and the first soul ring comes from listening to Wind Rabbit. The soul skill effect it brings to him is to perceive the fluctuations of the wind, and then form a 3-second future picture in his mind. This effect made the soul master feel that the soul skill brought life to the wind around him, and conveyed the future image to him. Therefore, this soul skill has also been given a poetic name. Listen to the wind song, listen to the wind song, and become the darling of the wind. However, in my eyes, it is mainly this soul skill that strengthens the soul master's spiritual power and brain. The human brain already has infinite imagination. Under the influence of soul skills, it perceives the information transmitted by air vibrations and automatically calculates the image in 3 seconds time in its mind, which seems not surprising. Even on Earth without extraordinary powers, a small portion of humans have particularly developed brains that can predict future images based on existing information. Besides, this mystical world with soul power, soul rings, and soul skills. Xiao nodded and suddenly realized, it sounds good, but is the reaction speed also within the range of the sensitive attack system? Of course, your martial soul is a soft bone rabbit, which is already very fast. With the increase of soul power, the speed will also increase, but there is no specific acceleration soul skill, that is amazing. Correspondingly, reaction speed is more important. After all, humans are not real rabbits. If your speed is too fast, you will not have time to brake. For acceleration soul skills, when your soul power is high, choosing a soul beast with a higher age is stronger than a lower age. I estimate that when you grow up, except for some soul masters who focus on speed, no one's speed can surpass you. When it comes to soul masters who focus on speed, Tang San thought of the Min clan. Their rain swallow martial souls all focus on speed and are not suitable for combat, but they are very good for reconnaissance. Unfortunately, neither the Haotian sect, which has not abandoned them, nor other forces have seen the investigative role of the Minji clan in the war. No, I should say I saw it, but I didn't value it. Xiao drummed her face and said, didn't you say that rabbits can turn 90 degrees? Yes, it's possible, but that's a rabbit. You're a human. The reason why I chose to listen to the wind rabbit for you is because the ability of listening to the wind whispering soul skill can be improved with the increase of soul power level, which is a lifelong ability. Some auxiliary soul skills can evolve with soul masters, and the most typical one is the amplification soul skill of the 7 Treasures Glass Tower. The soul ring cannot limit the percentage increase of the 7 Treasures Glass sect as the soul master's soul power increases. For most other soul masters, skill enhancement is basically fixed. At the soul master level, it can increase by 50%, while at the Douluo level, it can only increase by 50%. The amplification type soul skills that can be improved together with soul masters are very rare. Otherwise, the martial soul hall can completely cultivate a force similar to the 7 Treasures Glass sect, and the martial soul of the 7 Treasures Glass Tower cannot be recognized by the mainland as the strongest auxiliary martial soul. It makes sense. Xiao decided to choose a skill for listening to the wind in the 2nd soul ring. She is a soft bone rabbit and is closely related to listening to the wind rabbit. With the origin of the soul beast for 100,000 years, she completely traced the ancestors of all rabbits and obtained a skill of the same kind. What should I choose for my 3rd soul ring? Xiao continued. That's paid content. I don't offer free services, you need to pay 100 gold soul coins. Tang San seemed to fall into the eyes of money. I'll give you the choice of a 2nd soul skill, or it's because you're my classmate. You're making a lot of money. Amplification type soul skills, not all soul masters can increase their amplification type soul skills with level. For example, Yu Tianheng's soul skill. Thunder Fury is a self-amplification type, which increases attack by 100% and soul power by 50%. If this type of increased soul skill can be improved with the increase of soul power level, and when he reaches the title Douluo, his overall attack will increase by more than 190%, and his soul power will increase by more than 140%, then his blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex is even more impressive than the six-winged angel. Therefore, in the setting of this book, the increase in ordinary soul skills is relatively large at the beginning, exceeding 50%, but will not be further improved in the future. The increase is fixed. And a small number of increased soul skills can be improved with the increase of soul power. For example, the soul technique of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, end of this chapter.